edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I'm Glenn. He's Griffin. Appreciate everybody reaching out. Kind words meant a lot. I'll be with you today, and then I'm going to be off tomorrow. Stan will be back here getting you ready for Ravens Steelers. And we're kind of all over the place today. A lot of different stuff on the show. We're going to catch up with NC State football coach Dave Doeren. They're going to be in town next week for the Military Bowl. Also, we will speak of college football. James Rinello, the quarterback of Johns Hopkins, is going to join us as they're getting ready for the National Semifinals against Mount Union on Saturday. I am really excited about this. You know him as Larry Gergich. You know him as Jerry Gergich. You know him as Terry Gergich. I love this. Jim O'Hare, who of course played the great Jerry, Larry, Terry Gergich on Parks and Rec. He's going to join us a little bit later on this morning. He has a new book out all about his time on Parks and Rec. It's called Welcome to Pawnee. I'm looking forward to that. So all of that on the program today. And we'll make some picks. Are we ready to do that?
I believe so,
right
yeah.
At the top. Joining us this morning, of course, is our buddy Ken Zalis. What's going on, KZ? How are you?
I'm good. How are you today?
Yeah, everything's all right. Appreciate you doing this early on. As you requested, we're doing all of the college football playoff games. And so just as I began making progress again and coming off the high of a 7-2 week, I'll look forward to crashing and burning this week and going right back to being myself. So I have that to look forward to when it comes to picks.
Did anybody come closer to you from the bottom?
Only like by a game. Like everybody at the bottom had a bad or a good week. All the people that had bad weeks were in the middle. Like the people that are just safe, they're not winning, they're not losing.
Right.
So yeah, going into this week, here's where we sit at the top of the table. Ryan Shell. In fairness, KZ's back within 2 games of Ryan Shell at the top of the table, so still some drama there. Griffin and James Revere are 4 games behind Ryan Shell. At the bottom of the table, I did make up 2 games on Paw Valley last week. The problem is I was down by 5, so I'm only back within 3 at the bottom of the table.
You have a huge advantage over Paul this week.
What's that?
Read your emails.
What?
He sent his picks to everybody.
Oh, did he? I haven't looked. I'm not.
I just saw the email,
and it's
like,
not going to help. This is the thing. It ain't going to help me, right? Because the problem being, I could pick it and say, well, if I pick all of the same as him, then I'm not going to fall further behind. But I got to make up games, and I don't know what's happening. I clearly can't make picks. Son of a bitch. If it was the final week of the season, it would be helpful to know how he picked. Unfortunately, this week it doesn't help me all that much. It's what it is. Obviously, top of the table, we're playing for a little bit of cash at the bottom of the table, trying to avoid having to do all the Brazilian stuff. That's what's at stake for our picks. Griffin, picks are brought to us by Live Casino and Hotel.
That is correct, and you know what's going on at Live Casino Hotel this season because every time that Baltimore's football team or Washington's football team scores touchdowns, during home games this season, Live Rewards members are getting $7 in free slot play. Have to have your Live Rewards card inserted correctly into the slot machine, any slot machine, and be actively playing as well to get your prize. But once those touchdowns score, $7 in free slot play. And hey, Baltimore and Washington both home this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, so you can make a great weekend down at Live Casino and Hotel on Saturday and Sunday. At Ronald Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Here, I'll give you a question. I've gotten to the point where I'm benching Tyreek Hill in the playoffs. Like there's no debate about it. I mean, the guy, what happened to him? Like, what? I don't know how I managed to make the semifinals while holding Tyreek Hill on my roster all season because he stinks.
Yeah.
I did pick up. I guess we assume, based on the fact that Patrick Mahomes practiced, that he's playing, right?
Yeah, I mean, unless he has some kind of issue, the only hesitancy is that he isn't in game. Does have the ankle, so
right. But you can't play the Texans defense. Like a lot of people think.
Here's the secret that people don't really realize because they look at the record and they see 12-1, but Kansas City hasn't put up any points this year.
While I agree with that, they also haven't really turned the ball over a ton.
They have not.
That like I think it's a safe.
Yes.
Like what you're talking
Yes.
about is there's a potential floor, but I don't really know that there are
Correct.
points to be had. The problem being, like, I would then be between, do I just play the Chiefs defense against the Texans on Saturday, or do I pick up, like, Arizona's defense against Carolina?
Carolina's been pretty good offensively recently.
Or
I would say if
the
Green Bay or
Colts, I
maybe
guess.
Atlanta was out there, I would make that move. Otherwise, I'd probably just go safe and
Stick
go
with
with the Chiefs.
All right, stick with the Chiefs. Boring Zalis over here.
I
Trying
know.
to have fun, trying to come up with something to mix it up this week.
Do I play you in our league?
No, I play Serpico in the Press
Oh,
Box
okay.
League. Yeah. I guess that's it. All right. Well, let's get into it. Let's make some picks. Where are we starting?
We're starting in the college football playoff. We are tomorrow night is game 1 of the 4. I guess just the first round I guess is what it's called. And it's in South Bend, Indiana. Notre Dame is playing host to the Indiana Hoosiers, and the Hoosiers are getting 7 points, 7 even. Is the spread here in favor of the Irish?
What do you do here? What do you do?
Pick a game.
What do you do here? Like
Pick the team from Indiana.
Right. Thank you. I don't believe in Indiana, but do I believe in Notre Dame? Like a lot of the advanced statistics tell you Notre Dame is one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the college football playoff. But then you do the bit where you say, but the only like good teams that they played after their loss to Northern Illinois were like Army and Navy. Like this happened to be, like, we can joke about Notre Dame scheduling, but like they have stalwarts they put on the schedule, and the ACC thing was supposed to help them. Well, the ACC now stinks. Like, the ACC's now garbage, and USC's garbage. USC lost to Maryland. Like, it's just gone. Their schedule's awful. So do I trust them? Like, this is trusting Notre Dame to win a game by more than a touchdown that matters is wild, Jack. But then it requires me to have faith in Indiana. And so this sucks. This feels what was the game where we were like, how can we have faith in none of these teams? I guess I'm just going to default to Notre Dame because they're at home and it is only a touchdown, and I don't know, it kind of feels pushy to me, but yuck. This is a brutal one.
Yeah, the only issue is, and I do, with those metrics, I do think Notre Dame's pretty good, but they are untested. But the biggest test that Indiana had, they failed miserably.
Right.
And now you're on the road going up against Notre Dame. Should be a solid atmosphere. I agree with the pushy thing, but because it's only 7, and I don't take that lightly, but there's no hook involved, I'll take Notre Dame here. I think they're the better football team, and as much as I think it would be really cool if Indiana won the game, and I'm probably rooting interest in that direction, I just can't do it in a pick scenario.
It's the most expensive ticket of the college football playoff weekend for whatever.
Thank you.
Whatever that's.
It's very helpful for how we pick the game.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I
don't know. I think it's worth being thrown out there. I don't know what to do either. Like, I want to pick Indiana. They're getting points here, but also I do think Notre Dame, as soft as their schedule kind of was, they played well in most of the games. Bar that USC game, but that was at USC. It was still there were still some things working against them. I don't know. I'm not. They're at home. And IU's really their only big test, I guess. Like their big road game was at Columbus at Ohio State and didn't go well. So I'm gonna take Notre Dame here as well.
All right.
On the Hoosiers will be Joe Serpico, Kyle Odenheimer, and Ryan Shell. are
Okay.
on Indiana.
Okay.
Everybody else on the Irish.
Brian's been good at this.
Yes, he has.
Brian's been good at
Then at noon on Saturday, and I don't know how you pick which game you're supposed to watch, college football or
I'm
NFL
going to watch
here.
I'm going to watch the NFL games.
I don't know.
This is just the way it's going to go.
The first one at noon is the number 11 ranked, number 11 seeded, the SMU Mustangs taking on the 6th seeded at Penn State Nittany Lions in Happy Valley at noon on TNT Max. By the way, TNT and Max. Nittany Lions are laying 8.5.
I hate that. Oh, I hate that. Like your inclination is to pick Penn State. Everybody's talking about how Penn State has the easiest path to the semifinals, right? Like just pencil in Penn State as a semifinalist. But then it does require you to trust that Penn State's going to show up. And you can say they did show up against Oregon. They did. They were competitive, but like that's the best thing that you can say about Penn State this season is they were competitive for a while against Oregon. This goes back to some of the problems with seeding. If you actually took the body of work, there's no world in which Penn State should be seeded higher than Ohio State. Like it's drunk. But I also kind of don't mind the fact that they want to say, hey, we're not going to penalize you for reaching your conference championship game. We're basically going to say if you win, it counts for you. If you lose, we pretend like it didn't happen. And we can debate and quarrel about whether or not that's the right way to do things, but there's some world in which I respect it because other teams aren't playing. The problem being Penn State is definitively not as good as Ohio State. Like, we know that. They're not. But yet Penn State gets to play in this game and Ohio State has to play Tennessee. I don't know how I feel about SMU, but this number is just enough for me that I'm going to bite. Give me the Mustangs.
Yeah, this was a tough one. Trusting Penn State is not something I like to do in games that matter. But the ACC was horrible this year. I mean, you're looking at. I can't find the big win by SMU where they impressed me during the year. And the one game that
now do Penn State.
Oh, I get it. I do get it. But at home, in a whiteout, I know it's at noon, and it would be more fun if it was at 7:00 at night. Then we're all on Penn State very easily. Yeah. I'll go Penn State. I just can't trust SMU after looking at their body of work.
This is the cheapest ticket of the college football playoff weekend.
I think it's going to be 6 degrees outside or something like that.
It'll be like, I think, 26. Maybe a little wind. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Penn State's probably the better team. But you know, I don't feel like rooting for Penn State in this game.
All right.
And so yeah, I'll take SMU.
Solid strategy. Solid strategy.
I don't feel good because Glenn's on SMU, but yeah,
it's terrible news for
SMU.
you.
We are joined by Ryan Shell,
okay,
as well as Kyle Ottenheimer.
Okay.
We
got points to play with.
Yes, we are.
After 2 games, it's either tied or I'm done.
Is that, by the way, with Kyle? Is that just anti the rest of the Big Ten?
I don't know. He did pick Indiana, so
all right, fair enough.
I don't know. I don't know. The other game, the next game, 4 p.m., also on TNT/Max here. The Texas Longhorns are laying 12 points, hosting the ACC champions Clemson Tigers.
12 points. Everybody in football tells me Clemson is the most undervalued team of the weekend. They all rave that like Clemson is totally capable of, beating a Texas team that had no business losing to Georgia, and particularly a Georgia team that didn't have their quarterback. The advanced analytics people tell you there's a chance Clemson wins this game outright. So if that's the case, then the 12 points should make you feel like you got to be on Clemson. But this goes back to what Ken just said about how do you feel good about Clemson? Although they do have a kicker, which a lot of most of the NFL teams do not. I guess I'll have to ride with it. Clemson's the pick.
Yeah, these next 2 games, everybody knows what I'm doing because they've been my 2 all year long, and I'm not stopping now. I'll take Texas here. I don't think Clemson's any good at all. I just don't.
I hear you.
Yeah, I was leaning towards Clemson, and the line was kind of because it was like it started at like 10, and then I think the public has been on Clemson, but then the line ballooned back to just kept moving to in favor of the Longhorns to -12. So I do think Texas is the better team, and because the Sharps don't respect Dabo, you don't need to twist my arm. I will take the Longhorns as well in this one. Glenn, you are not alone on Clemson. Ryan Shell is your lone partner.
We're a duo?
Yes.
Now this is, look at this. By the way, Ken, this is a lot of volatility now. A lot of volatility between Ryan and Ken.
And all right, now the final playoff game, 8 p.m. This one will be back to the ESPN, ABC networks, ABC and ESPN at 8 o'clock. The Tennessee Volunteers are going to Columbus. Ohio State are 7.5-point favorites.
7.5?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I definitely wanted to take Ohio State here. I saw something where they were undefeated against the SEC all time in Columbus.
Really?
So I definitely wanted to take Ohio State here because they're not playing Michigan, right? Like, if they're not playing Michigan, I think they're pretty good. 7.5, Christ, these are huge numbers in these playoff games. Oh, I'll be the mook. Tennessee.
Yeah, this is my second college team. I'm going to take Tennessee. 7.5 is too much. This is the craziest line to me. I don't know. Tennessee's been pretty good all year, and they played some really good teams. So I'll take the 7.5.
This really is like them saying they still believe Ohio State's the second best team in the country.
Yeah,
which is crazy to me.
I get the whole it's Michigan, and
right.
Outside of that, the Ohio State's blown people away all year. To me, this is the toughest game of the three.
All right, yes, it is a tough game. I agree. I was trying to find the quick stats here. So it looks like overall Ohio State is only 4-14 against the SEC
in Columbus.
Yeah, in Columbus though they are 5-1.
5-1.
Well,
okay. that math doesn't math.
This is the
Google.
Google
AI
here.
Accurate.
This is the Google AI here.
All right, we got to move on because Ken's got a meeting.
The Volunteers are getting points. I'll take Tennessee.
All
I will
right.
take Tennessee. Everybody else is on. Ken, you're on Tennessee. All right, so Kyle's on Ohio State. So yeah, he's not anti-Big Ten, I guess. Joe on Ohio State, Jeremy on Ohio State.
Kyle picked Ohio State?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that's never happened before in the history of our picks.
So Ryan Shell and I are exactly opposite on all four.
That is wild.
No, he's on Tennessee here.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
He's on Tennessee.
By the way, it does appear to be 5-1, but apparently they haven't played an SEC team at home since 1988. So
we can throw that out.
Yeah, as it turns out, irrelevant. Their one loss was in 1931 against Vanderbilt.
Okay.
Wow, Vandy coming
in. So they're
in.
due.
Yeah, there you go.
Thursday night tonight on Prime, the Denver Broncos are going to SoFi taking on the Chargers, and the Chargers are 3-point favorites here.
The Chargers are 3-point favorites.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. I have no clue. Again, it's two teams that you like, but do you like? I think there's things to like about both teams. The Broncos were trying to lose to the Colts last week, but Jonathan Taylor was a conscientious objector to that. The Chargers, I don't know what to do with this game. I guess that you default to it's only 3 points and it's a Thursday night team at home. And since you're kind of feeling, I guess that's probably where I am. Chargers.
Yeah, I'm kind of the other way. I'm getting points with what I think is the better team and the better defense with the better run game, and a quarterback that's playing pretty well. I did not like anything I saw from the Chargers last week at all. The Broncos, yes, they were given a gift, but the defense stepped up, and I'll go on a short week with the better defense. I'll take Denver.
Hayden Hurst is coming back tonight, though. So kind of
does.
might have
Changes
to consider
everything,
that.
yes.
Might consider that, Ken. Same deal. I do think the Broncos. They've obviously been playing better. They're getting points here. They're on the road, but I'm good. I don't know. Is it a road game though? It's SoFi. I will take the Broncos here. My model had them as -2.5 favorites. So yeah, there's a lot of difference there. I will take the Broncos. So we let's see. We're pretty
Your
split
model?
here. Yeah, my model.
You have. I don't want to. Whatever. Just keep going.
John in Little Rock is on Denver as well. He joins KZ and I, and Paul Valley and Ryan Shell are on the Denver Broncos as well here.
All right. So who's on the Chargers? It's
Chargers.
just Jeremy and I.
You, Stecca, Jeremy, Joe, and Kyle, and Proctor.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah.
right.
Yes.
All right.
To Saturday, the 1 p.m. game. It's on NBC, a 1 p.m. NBC game, of course. Houston Texans are at the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs are 3.5-point favorites.
With the only question being about Mahomes. Like, if Mahomes plays, they're covering that. This is the eternal. The Texans stink. Like, I get it. They beat the Dolphins last week. Bully for them. Even that one wasn't pretty. This is really only a question if somehow Patrick Mahomes, like, tries to gut it out and then they just bail on. I don't know. Patrick Mahomes is playing Chiefs. That's the pick.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes hasn't put up more than 30 points in a game all year long. I get the 12-1. They've squeaked by like 4 of their last 5 games with, all kinds of weird things have happened. If I'm getting 3.5, I agree Houston
They stink.
doesn't do
They
a lot
stink.
for me.
They're terrible.
I'll take Houston.
Yeah, I'm gonna act like Mahomes is playing as well, so I will take Patrick Mahomes. Only 3.5. Yeah, they gotta cover this one, right? Most of us are on Kansas City. KZ, you are on Houston Texans, as is John and Little Rock.
Texans lost to the Jets and the Titans. And I get it.
Kansas
Somebody's going to say
they should have lost to everybody.
but they didn't.
I know, but they're squeaking by, but they're not covering the 3.5. That's the point.
When
you
don't
win,
cover, they
when
don't.
you win by
This
1,
is the
2,
man.
3
They don't
in
cover
4 out
big.
of the
They
last
don't
6
cover
weeks.
big spreads against bad teams. They
They don't
cover
cover
all of
anybody
these.
this year. What are they against the spread?
They just covered last week against the Browns. I know because I had American dollars on
The
it.
Browns.
The
I mean,
Browns turned it
did you
over
see the
17
stuff?
times.
Yeah, I understand
Huh?
that. I understand that. The Texans are a bad football team. Were they just a bad football team that happens to have more wins than losses because they play in a dreadful division? They're a bad football team.
All right, to Sunday now. The Philadelphia Eagles are at Washington, and the Commanders are getting 3.5. The Eagles are laying 3.5.
I thought this number would be bigger. I guess if it's only 3.5, you have to take the Eagles. Could this be interesting? Absolutely. And I certainly don't think the Eagles are infallible. But I don't think Jonathan Allen's not coming back this week. I don't think there's anything that the Commanders do that would be uniquely suited to stop the run that would make me feel like they have some sort of advantage. Look, man, we can all talk about the fact that Jalen Hurts isn't great, and I think the Eagles' record is being lifted. Like, I don't think they're as dominant a team as their record suggests they are, but you got to be able to stop Saquon Barkley, and there's nothing about the Commanders that tells me that's happening. So give me the Eagles.
Yeah, not even a tough one for me. Eagles are playing too well. They're beating good teams, whether that's with help or whether that's with domination. It doesn't matter to me. I don't think Washington's defense can stop Saquon, so I'll take the Eagles.
Yeah, I hope it should be a good game. It feels like it should be a good game. But yeah, I can't go against Philly right now. They're playing very, very well. Looks like we're gonna have a lone wolf this week. One backer of the Commanders, Jeremy Kahn.
Oh,
taking the
betting against the public. There you go.
Yes, he is. To the 4 p.m. window, 4:05 on Fox. The Minnesota Vikings are traveling to a little bit further west, taking on Seattle, and the Vikings are 3-point favorites in Seattle.
I will go to my grave doubting the Vikings. Like, I just will. And I don't know how anyone can actually watch Sam Darnold play and be like, that's the guy. That's the guy we're hyping up. But the bloom is clearly off the rose for me in Seattle. It's only 3-point Vikings. I don't. One of these teams has Justin Jefferson. The other one doesn't. Vikings.
Not only Justin Jefferson, but the talent on the offensive side of the ball and the offensive line for the Vikings. Is Sam Darnold the savior? No, but you put any serviceable quarterback behind that line with that talent, I mean, guys are just wide open for him to throw to. It's only 3. I don't believe in Seattle. Haven't believed in him all year. With maybe a gimpy quarterback. I don't know. He kind of got banged up at the end of last week. I don't know if Gino's playing. I'll take Minnesota.
It looked like he practiced at least a little bit yesterday, I think.
I don't know.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to take Minnesota as well. It does feel like every time that Seattle's dropped like a bad dud, they've like turned around and kind of made up for it. But the Vikings are rolling. Maybe they're gonna smell blood in the water with Detroit, looking a little vulnerable now, and they can try to get the NFC North. Who knows? But yeah, I'm gonna take the Vikings here, and we do have two backers of the Seahawks, Andrew Stecca and Jeremy Cohn, going against. They will take Seattle, and then finally on Saturday at 4:30 on a classic Ravens Steelers on Fox matchup here with
Dude, this game should never be on Fox.
with the Ravens laying 6.5 points.
I agree.
I mean, it's such a dumb thing that we like.
I know,
about.
it's so dumb.
Ravens Steelers should never ever be on Fox.
Nope.
CBS or NBC at the worst. Like at the worst, you can make it a Sunday night game because there have been some legendary Ravens Steelers Sunday night games. It shouldn't be a Monday night game either, for what it's worth. Like this is just don't ask me to explain it. It's not a Monday night game. It's a Sunday night game or it's a Sunday afternoon on CBS. That's where Ravens Steelers is supposed to be. But hey, we're doing a Christmas football, so we got to make everything cockamamie.
Holiday remix.
Whatever the F. I hate the line. It's what a nonsense line this is. And you could say it maybe builds in like the risk of TJ Watt and or George Pickens not playing, but like my gut tells me they're both on the field. And I know George Pickens still hasn't practiced this week, so like that in particular doesn't look good, but this is Ravens Steelers. Like if these guys are functional, they're playing. All that being said, it also reeks of them begging you to bet the Steelers, right? Like, how is this line not moved? How? How is it still 6.5? Wouldn't everybody immediately say, what? So because of that, I have no choice but to insanely ride with the Ravens, which is bonkers, bat-ass, that I would be picking the Ravens when we all know this game will be decided by 3 points, because they all are. Every single one of them, and I don't care what evidence you present me, every Ravens-Steelers game has been a 3-point game all time. Raven.
I'm almost the exact same way. I don't expect Pickens to play, which I think the line is more indicative of than anything. I think Watt plays somehow, maybe limited snap count, but he'll be out there. And the Ravens don't beat the Steelers and blah, 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 and the whole narrative. And 6.5 is absolutely insane. But I think everybody else is just going to take the Steelers and the 6.5, and they want you to take the Steelers. So, again, because I think Vegas wants you to take the Steelers, I'll begrudgingly take the Ravens.
I'm going to be I guess I'll be a good sheep then. I will do what Vegas wants. Rules are rules. Steelers are getting 6.5 points.
It's nuts. It's insanity.
It's crazy.
So yeah, I will happily be wrong about this one, but yeah, I'm taking 6.5 points with the Steelers.
I get
in
it.
A Ravens Steelers.
That's
game.
the correct pick.
Yeah.
It's just that I can't make the correct pick because they're telling you, they're begging you to do it.
We are pretty split on this one. A 7-5 in favor of the Ravens. I'm on the Steelers, as is Joe Serpico. Joe Serpico, John and Little Rock on Pittsburgh. Kyle and Ryan Shell are on Pittsburgh as well.
Right. Very good.
The rest on the Ravens.
I'm either in first this after this
or
week,
you're down by
done.
10, right? Yeah, 100%. It's gonna be a mess.
I may fall to 6. I don't know.
Do I play in your cockamamie 2-quarterback league, Anthony Richardson or Russell Wilson?
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, with Russell not having Pickens, he's tough to play. I'm playing the Dallas quarterback over him in a league. So
Jesus.
I guess Trey Richardson runs one in.
I was trying to look at what else. I'm pretty sure there's no other options available because f that league. Maybe we never do. Oh, I could play Mason Rudolph. That would be a choice. That would be a choice. That could make that choice in a fantasy football playoff game. And then, I had one other one, and I already don't know what it is. All right, whatever. Just go ahead.
I do need to bench one of Neighbors, Jackson Smithing, Jigba, CeeDee Lamb, or Terry McLaurin. I need to bench one of them.
I mean, JSN's got to be benched of that group.
Really? You think he's been so good lately?
He has been, but Neighbors is getting 12 targets a week.
Yeah.
Lamb is third in the NFL in yards, and
Terry.
And Cooper Rush is playing out of his mind right now, and the matchup, and I mean, all McLaurin's doing is putting up a career year. So I just
What if he gets the Quinion Mitchell seatbelt? What about that?
I don't know. It's really tough. You have 4 good options,
Yeah.
and
By the way,
I,
Jeremy Fowler just said that Hollywood Brown's getting activated off of IR.
yeah, he'll be on a snap
he'll-
count. He should be
play.
in nobody's fantasy lineup.
Okay.
Very good. Very good. All right, buddy. Love you. I know you got to go. See you. Thank you.
Hey,
Happy Hanukkah. We'll talk to you. Can you do next Thursday or what's?
Yeah, I can do.
right.
I'll be in another state, but we can work it out.
All right, sounds good. And then
Glenn.
yeah. Thank you, pal. I know what you're about. I appreciate it, pal. And I know you've reached out, and so I appreciate that too. Are you in for Saturday?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We will see you for Project Game Day then. Love you, buddy. Thank you.
Take care.
All right. It's our guy, Ken Zalis. And, yeah, we'll be back together on Saturday for Project Game Day immediately following Ravens Steelers. Come join us, PressBoxOnline.com/game day. Myself, Rita, Femi, KZ, Stecca, the whole crew. Come hang with us Saturday for Project Game Day immediately following Ravens Steelers. Look, TJ Watt did practice yesterday. He was listed as limited participant. That would smell to me like he's playing on Saturday. Now, you might say, is he limited? Is he not fully TJ? I don't know. Not a doctor. Didn't stay at a Holiday Inn Express. Don't have any of those answers. But the fact that he got on the practice field, unless something was, some new injury pops up, I would assume that TJ Watt's playing and will probably have an impact on this football game because, he's TJ Watt. That's just the way that it works. I'm not sure if you've heard of him. He's pretty freaking good. Yes, I'd much rather face the Steelers' offense without George Pickens than with him because, as KZ just pointed out, that was the one thing that was really clicking was Russell Wilson and George Pickens. Just put that ball out there and make it happen. Now, I don't know why there hasn't been more clicking with Mike Williams, who had obviously the huge catch against the Commanders, but there hasn't been a thing there. You would think that Mike Williams presents the attributes that would be more beneficial to Russell Wilson, big catch radius, that type of stuff. Mike Williams is such an enigma, right? Like, everything about him, you look at him, you're like, I want that guy. But it's just never fully clicked. Someone would make a Rashad Bateman comparison where, like, when he's at his best, he can be really impactful, but there's just never, like, this consistency there. I don't know. But he certainly looks the part. I'll never be able to understand that. But it is obviously a huge storyline going into Saturday is whether or not George Pickens, because I always assumed that, like, they were eyeing this game. This was the game. They didn't put George Pickens on IR because the Ravens game, we're going to have him for that game. And, it's trending, and I don't know what time they practice today, but it's trending in the direction of maybe not. We'll get a final injury report today for both teams, and we'll see if George Pickens has gotten onto the practice field, which I do think is a major storyline going into Saturday. I don't know what else are major storyline. The major storyline is the Ravens-Steelers thing, and I can only say it so much. Like, that's the thing. It's funny because last night I just did on the radio show, Reed and I just did a couple of segments of Where's Your Confidence? I thought when I first saw the line was 6.5, I thought Ravens fans were like, oh, what the heck? Everybody that we heard from last night is extraordinarily confident.
Really?
Which is wild because this is sports radio, right? And in sports radio, you normally get the people that, like...
that want to fire everyone.
Yes. And those same people would probably call back on Monday, or a post-game show, and say, I knew they were going to lose. They always lose the Steelers. But my God, they were lining up to tell me not only did they think the Ravens were winning, they thought the Ravens were covering.
Wow.
And I agree wholeheartedly with the idea that the Ravens are the better team of the two. I do think that. I think the Ravens are the better team. But as I continuously say, their worst tendencies come out against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, am I confident? No. I'm cautiously optimistic. I think the Ravens are the better team. To the point they might be a touchdown better than the Pittsburgh Steelers. And this is fascinating, the whole... I can't get over the Lamar Jackson has never played the Steelers in Baltimore with fans in the stands. That's wild. Although I was reminded, because somehow Rita was one of them, there were like 3,000 fans at the game in
2020.
In 2020. She was like, well, technically not true. I was there.
They were friends and family.
Yeah.
Yes.
Somehow Rita managed to get the invite to be one of the handful of people that was allowed in for the 2020 game. But this has never happened. So, yes, this is the theater. Like, this is the arena, the setting for the first Lamar Jackson chapter in the history of this rivalry. And it all goes into, like, the spiritual aspect of it, and why, to me, this game is tangibly somewhat significant. Spiritually, the most important regular season game Lamar Jackson's ever played. And it's, to me, a little bit about just, it's a lot about shaking it off. It's also about, like, how can the guy that, as of right now, appears as though he'll go down as the greatest player in Ravens history not have a chapter in the history of the rivalry? How is that possible? He is irrelevant to the Ravens-Steelers rivalry. And again, a lot of it based on anomaly. I understand that. But it's not like he hasn't had chances either. And sure, he got betrayed in the game in Pittsburgh last year, and that could have been his moment. But it's got to change. It's got to change. I think it will on Saturday. In my heart of hearts, I do. I think it will. I don't know how confident I am in that spread. That spread's crazy. But it's crazier that it hasn't moved. I mean, that really is nuts. Yeah. That number was 6.5 to start the week, and the country has said, yes, that's right. What? Like, how is that possible? So that's where I am with that. All right, we're going to do some college football this morning. We already did pick the college football playoff, but the Military Bowl is next Saturday in Annapolis, East Carolina versus NC State. When we come back in, we're going to catch up with the head coach of the Wolfpack. Coach Dave Doeren is going to join us next. It is a Thursday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. Learn more at DriveEasyMD.com.
PressBox's Project Game Day is the place to be after every game this season. Join Glenn Clark, Rita Hubbard, Super Bowl 35 champion Femi Ayanbadejo, and our cast of regulars as they break down what happened, why it mattered, and what it means moving forward. You can watch the show at PressBoxOnline.com/GameDay or PressBox's Facebook and YouTube pages. Project Game Day is brought to you by the Green Turtle Sportsbook in Towson and Canton, Easy Pass, and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org. So join us for Project Game Day after every game day this football season at PressBoxOnline.com/GameDay.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their amazingly scrumptious, fat, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. Every season is crab season at Costas, so make your plans now by calling 410-477-1975 and reserve your taste of heaven. Sit back, crack some crabs, and watch the Ravens chase down another title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday nights, Costas offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30, and there are nightly specials Monday through Friday. So head on down to the Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at CostasInn.com.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named #1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll, receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
The top high school basketball talent from across the country returns to the Wycomico Civic Center December 26th through 30th for the Governor's Challenge presented by Pohanka of Salisbury. Witness 5 full days of elite competition featuring over 140 high school basketball teams from 16 states plus Canada. Multiple top 10 teams and nationally ranked players will display their talents on the court. Don't miss the best experience in high school hoops. For tickets and info, visit govchallenge.org.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
All right, back in here on GCR. If you missed it yesterday, we did officially announce that this year's 2024 Press Box Mogaba Sports Person of the Year is Lamar Jackson. I normally do a little bit with Stan, and I apologize. I wanted to do an announcement with Sanzi this week, but as you're probably aware, my family's been dealing with a tragedy, so it's just been a difficult week. And I normally we do something, we talk through it. Can I be honest with you? This ultimately didn't require a lot of talking through. There was a point early in the year. We have meetings throughout the course of the year. I hope you know how much the best of issue means to us at Pressbox. It really is something we pour a lot of effort into. And we have every month or so, we have an editorial meeting about the best of issue, and we talk about directions where it might go. And I think at one point this year, I'll be frank, David Rubenstein was going to be Sports Person of the Year, right? Like, the excitement that surrounded the ownership change was palpable. But given what occurred with the Orioles after that, it felt like it would have been hollow for him to be. So we had kind of decided by the start of October, it probably wasn't going to be David Rubenstein, just because it felt strange, right? Like, you're celebrating someone for existing. If the Orioles, if that had been followed up by the Orioles making a deep run in the playoffs and maybe them adding, 3 guys at the deadline that would really help, tangible change that came with it. I don't know where it would have gone from there, because there might have also been better Orioles candidates at that point. That there might have been, other Orioles players that we would have considered had the Orioles had a better season. There weren't really, at one point, if Navy football had gone, if they had reached remember, the beginning of the year, Navy football had a chance to get into the college football playoff up until the Notre Dame game. And so, at that point, we had discussed how Navy football might factor into Mogaba Sports Person of the Year. But by the time we got to, Halloween, Lamar was having the season. There was maybe a moment we thought about, could we split it between Lamar and Derrick Henry? That did come up in conversation. Would that make sense? But with respect to Derrick Henry, the spirit of it being the Mogaba Sports Person of the Year, I don't want to use the word mercenary because that's unfair. I don't think he's going to I think Derrick Henry will be on the team next year. But
this is the best Derrick Henry there. Yeah.
You kind of want the Mogaba Sports Person of the Year. You want it to be deeper than just good at sport. You'd like it to be impactful beyond that. And Derrick Henry, has already, has done some things to reach out to the community since he arrived, but he's been here for a minute, right? It's tough for someone who's been here for a minute to compare. If Derrick Henry had a 2,000-yard season and Lamar Jackson had been pedestrian this year, that probably would have won out. But to put them on the cover together or make them parallel and say, this guy's as important as this guy is, no. Nope, can't do that. And there's the one other part of it, which is that oddly, Lamar had never been the Mogaba Sports Person of the Year before. And there's a bunch, and I kind of wrote about that in my column in this print issue of Press Box, which is in 2019, his first MVP season, we had already committed to Mo Gaba being the Sports Person of the Year before we had renamed the award. And we won't regret that. It's the greatest thing we've ever done in the history of this magazine. That will forever be the thing that I am most proud of, is that cover and what it meant to this community, and I'll never regret that. We put Lamar on the cover with him. That was the way that made it perfect, is there was the picture the Ravens were thankfully willing to share with us of Lamar and Mo. It's the most beautiful cover we've ever had, and we had nothing to do with it, right? So he had been on the cover of a Best Of issue, but he had never been the Mo Gaba Sports Person of the Year. And part of that was, a couple of years where he got hurt, and then last year the Orioles winning 100 games. Like, it was really hard to ignore that. Even though Lamar was on his way to a second MVP, it was really difficult to. You don't win 100 games in baseball every year. That doesn't happen. So, how do we? The Orioles hadn't made the playoffs, and do we dismiss that? And so we chose that we couldn't, even though they got knocked out of the playoffs quickly. So, yeah, all of that factored in, and ultimately, by October, it really was not difficult. It really was not a tough choice this year who was going to be our Mo Gaba Sports Person of the Year. And Bo Smolka did a great job. We wanted to do something different. Some years we just do an interview with the person. This year we wanted to talk about one thing, a story that we hadn't done before, is Lamar's impact on the community. What he means to our civic identity. And I've talked about this a few times, how you go somewhere. I was in Indianapolis for work, obviously, that was that October, whatever month I was there. And you tell someone you're from Baltimore, and I swear to God, the first thing is, dude, I love Lamar Jackson. There is a civic identity that exists now related to Lamar Jackson. And for a city that, unfortunately, the national connotations otherwise have been crime, the aftermath of the Freddie Gray, and the civic unrest. I said civil, it was not civil. Civic unrest, The Wire, things along those lines. It's significant to have something far more positive to identify with as a community. And Lamar Jackson has become that. Across the country, people recognize Baltimore, Lamar Jackson. Yeah, that's where you're from? Dude. How fun is it to watch Lamar Jackson every week? It's really effing fun. It couldn't be more fun. It gives us extraordinary joy. And he's not embarrassed us. He's not skipping practice to do ayahuasca. He's not,
if he is, then,
somehow we found out about that. Yeah, that's a good point. He's not, we don't, the word massage doesn't come up. And I'm not trying to go after other people, but it matters. Lamar Jackson is associated with silly things, with fun, yo mammy,
right.
Just fun stuff.
Johnny,
100% Johnny. That's what we associate Lamar Jackson with, tweeting Johnny. Or feeling wind on his butt.
Right.
Or
his mom
getting cussed out by his mom. Or going out for oxtail pizza. That's what we associate Lamar. It's fun. He doesn't embarrass us. He's not some corny brand. He's a person. And he's real, and he cares deeply about winning. And the first association we ever had with him was him talking about a Super Bowl, and he's obsessed with it. And will he get it? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I hope. But, God, it's been really pleasant. The entire experience has been a delight for Baltimoreans for that to be the quarterback of your football team. He is fun as hell to watch, and he's... I don't like holding guys up like he's a role model, but he's a fun representative of Baltimore. he's beloved in pop culture. Like he is in hip hop. He's like this, kind of urban legend. So yeah, that's the reason. It's all in there. Print issue of Press Box. It's our annual best of issue and lots of other stuff in there as we recognize the top people, performances, and moments of 2024, and a little bit of everything. As Drew pointed out yesterday, people, they're like, you're going to learn stuff I didn't know that happened. You will forget certain things that occurred during the course of the year that were pleasant moments. Like our overall feeling of the Orioles this season, kind of negative, right? Like the way that it ended sucks. But then you'll go back and remember like the Sunday before the All-Star break against the Yankees, or you'll go back and remember the Anthony Santander grand slam against the Astros, or you'll go back and remember, was it a grand slam or was it a 3-run homer? I think
it was a grand slam.
Was it a grand slam?
Yeah. Kerstad had a grand slam.
Kerstad had the grand slam, yes, 100%. Yeah. You'll go back and you'll remember those pleasant moments. And we kind of like to be kind of like a yearbook, if you will, for Baltimore sports. So go pick it up right now. Print issue of Press Box, available for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town. I think one year I assigned you to go through and like tell me which ones you liked.
Okay,
I'm not going to. We're not here tomorrow, so I'm not going to do that.
I can deal with Stan, I guess.
Whatever. PressBoxOnline.com/best of is where you can find all of it. And again, get to your neighborhood Royal Farms today. Had to do this. Actually, I'll be honest with you. Had to do this yesterday because of his schedule as he gets ready for a bowl game, but an opportunity ahead of the Military Bowl to catch up with NC State football coach Dave Doeren right here on GCR.
Of course, we are partners with Maryland Sports, and we always support every big event that comes up here in the state of Maryland. One of our favorites is happening next Saturday. It's the Military Bowl in Annapolis, East Carolina, taking on NC State. And joining us now to tell us a little bit more about the Wolfpack, he is their head coach, Coach Dave Doeren, and he's with us here on Glenn Clark Radio. Coach, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you. Thank you for taking the time for us.
No problem, Glenn. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Coach, can I be honest? I kind of have a bone to pick with you, though, if that's all right. Could you please have yelled a little bit louder about Peyton Wilson last year so that he wouldn't have slipped to the third round and the Pittsburgh Steelers to be giving us nightmares going into Saturday based on him maybe making the greatest play I've ever seen earlier this year against the Ravens?
Yeah, well, Peyton's a great player. I miss him, I'll tell you that. He chased people around in our stadium for a long time. He's a special young man, and I'm not surprised by the things he's doing. That was a great play, the one you're referring to. And a lot of people missed out not taking him earlier, that's for sure.
There's no doubt about that. Hopefully, with respect to him, there won't be more of those coming up this Saturday. Coach, great to chat with you. I wonder, going into the year, with all respect, because, we love the Military Bowl. I'm sure it wasn't the first goal that you guys had on your mind, but having to win the way that you did against Carolina in the season, and then getting it to be a matchup against East Carolina, how much has maybe that invigorated the program, the fan base, about their excitement for coming up here to Annapolis?
Yeah, I think what we went through, quarterback injury, playing a true freshman, that just got better and better and better as the year went on. Had a lot of one-possession games, won some, lost some, and learned a lot through the process, and finished, as you mentioned, strong against our rival team. Becoming a bowl eligible team matters. It's not the ending, I guess you'd say, with 6 wins. We thought we'd have more than that, and we lost 4 one-possession games, but winning that game meant a lot, not just because we're bowl eligible, but 4 in a row against, the team that we love to call our rival. Mm-hmm. And it allows you to get all these postseason practices for your team. The development of your roster is a massive thing. And even though there's more kids leaving rosters these days, the kids that do stay, they get a lot out of the bowl. They get a lot out of the fun of the bowl game, the brotherhood of the bowl game, but they get a lot out of the practices that allow them to kind of get a taste of where they're at for the returning players and what they can focus on, for the postseason, getting ready for spring football. And, we've been in 10 bowls in 11 years. Certainly wasn't a team that didn't want to be one of them to carry forward what this program stands for. And that's sustainable success. And, over a long period of time, being able to be a competitive team.
Coach, the fact that it's the military bowl and that you're going to spend time at the academy, and I know the entire college football world just watched, obviously, Army Navy this past
Yeah.
weekend. Have you sort of tried to impress anything on your players about, yes, it's not Miami, it's not, San Diego, some of these locations I'm sure they'd love to go, but the significance of being at the academy, taking some time and getting to know what those guys go through?
Oh yeah, I mean, the first meeting about the bowl game talked about our nation's capital,
Yeah.
opportunity for life growth. Just seeing a lot of our guys haven't, toured the capital and seen what we're going to be able to see. Life experiences is part of college, and bowl games is a great opportunity to see things from that standpoint. And then we have a huge military presence in the state of North Carolina.
Yeah.
It's something that is a big part of being someone that lives in this state. We pay tribute to the military in our military appreciation game and have thousands and thousands of military there for the game. It's something our players know is near and dear to my heart. My dad was in the Navy. My father-in-law was in the Army. And
Wow.
so there's, I don't know, 30 plus kids on our team that have, somebody in their family in the military. So we definitely talked about that. And it's exciting, to be playing in a game that means something to our nation's military.
Yes, Coach Dave Doeren from NC State. He's getting ready for East Carolina in the Military Bowl 1 week from Saturday here in Annapolis. Coach, you mentioned your quarterback, C.J. Bailey. Just how, I think is the word that comes to mind, right? Like, how was he able to sort of get things going the way that you needed him to at such a young point in his career?
He comes from a great program, Chaminade High School, two-time state champion. He's a winner. He's used to playing against elite players in that area. So the bell curve for him was a little different because he understood the speed of the game when he got here. Mentally, he's very capable. He learns fast. The thing I love about CJ is when he makes mistakes, he learns from them really quickly. And he doesn't point fingers. He doesn't blame others. He owns everything. He wants to be better. He's got a thirst to learn and improve. And he's just got a really good competitive spirit, a positive personality that people gravitate to. So I'm not surprised that he's been able to improve each week because of the way he approaches himself and the game.
Coach, the I mentioned earlier the East Carolina thing, right? And like I know obviously it's not an ACC rival, but the regional thing, how real is that? I'm assuming that there are guys that have friends on that roster and there are family connections, and how significant does that make this game for you all?
It's an in-state opponent, and you never want to lose a game in-state. I don't care what league they're in, and these kind of games mean something. It's not a rivalry from the fact that we play each other every year like they used to back in the day. So for the fan bases, I think it's, there's a lot that goes into the in-state games and split homes, all those kind of things. Husband, wives that went to the separate schools, or they have a child that goes to ECU or NC State, and we cross over a lot. It's not very far from us, so anytime you play an in-state opponent, there's a little extra juice in the game, and we open with them next year, which makes it even more
Oh,
unique.
wow. Coach, you mentioned a second ago that not everybody is going to be back, right? And there's been so much conversation recently about like the windows and the transfer portal dates. And I just wondered, as you're trying to go through this and get ready for a bowl game, if you had any insight about like is there a better way that this can be done to prevent some of the stuff that we've seen? And I know a former assistant of yours kind of walked into that situation at Marshall
Yeah.
this
Well, it's
offseason.
completely broken. I think everybody recognizes that, and there's a lot of different solutions. There's going to have to be some heavy hitters involved in these solutions, and I've heard people talk about moving the season forward, starting earlier so that we can finish earlier, and then the bowl games could be done before the end of December. To me, that makes a lot of sense from the standpoint that, these kids that transfer want to be at their new school in the second semester academically and to learn the systems that they're going to be a part of, right? And the way it's set up now, they can't finish. And that's something that's anti-athletic.
Hmm.
I mean, finish is something we all want to do. And so I would be completely in favor of that. Our players are here all summer anyway. I mean, we could start our season earlier and have a different model that way. I've heard people talk about eliminating the winter portal window and making it a one-time only thing in the spring. I would like to investigate that one more before I say I'm in favor of it. I think that creates another problem. I mean, you're only 3 months from your season, and now you're going to have a mass exodus potentially for a lot of schools. So, I don't know what the answer is, but there's a major problem. And it's in a lot of facets. I saw a stat the other day, 6,300 guys in the portal, and 39% of them were looking for their third or fourth school, which means a lot of them aren't graduated. When you transfer, you lose credits each time you transfer. And the whole goal in this thing as a student athlete is to play football or basketball or whatever your sport is for the length of your time there and get a degree. And I hate to hear that the graduation rates are suffering because of an institution or an NCAA rule now that exists. To me, that's anti-student athlete.
I understand what you're like. It's not, you're not, we're not, the toothpaste isn't going back in the tube, right? Like the portal era, that
Right.
it's not going to change, but it can be done better to benefit not just the programs, but the athletes themselves.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a model that's out there. It needs to be vetted. Obviously, there's a lot of unintended consequences when rules come out. And unfortunately, these don't get vetted well enough. And now you have a lot of these unintended consequences, these rules. But I do think there's a solution that benefits the student athlete and the universities at the same time, and it just needs to be found. And like I said, there needs to be a room with the 4 commissioners and some really good ADs and some really good football coaches and basketball coaches, where they just put all the problems on the table and don't leave the room until they're solved.
I appreciate that. I appreciate it. Not a lot of NC State connections up here in Baltimore, but I know one guy you did get to know who's on the Ravens practice squad, of course, is Devin Leary. And wonder if there's any insight that you could give us about your time with him and your belief that he has the ability to be an NFL quarterback.
Yeah, Devin was a great player for us. Unfortunately, suffered some injuries and decided to leave and go to Kentucky, and I have nothing but love for Devin. He's got a great arm. He loves football. I mean, he's one of the best arms I've been around as far as arm talent. Can make all the throws, strength in his arm, touch in his arm, sees the game well, and just loves the game, And so I'm glad he's there and hope that he's doing well.
All right. And then before we let you go, I do have to, have you had a phone call yet with your new rival? Have you been able to check in and say hello, welcome to the ACC, anything like that?
Who are you talking about?
The guy over in Chapel Hill, the new guy.
No, I got my own program to worry about, man. I'm not worried about that program right now.
I understand that. Coach Dave Doeren, we really appreciate you taking the time for us. We're looking forward to you guys being up here in Annapolis. It is a great day in our community and an event that we truly love next Saturday for the Military Bowl. Thank you for spending the time with us today, and we'll look forward to seeing you next Saturday.
You're welcome.
Happy holidays to you.
All right, you too. Go Pack.
That's Dave Doeren, NC State football coach. I get it. I do get it. He's got his own program to worry about. He's not worried about Bill Belichick, but obviously it will change his reality in competing for recruits and competing in the ACC is the greatest coach in football history is now his rival in the state of North Carolina.
I do like to just believe him full-heartedly. He's like who someone got hired at North Carolina?
There is some element of that, right? Like the way that he I couldn't tell if it was just like, dude, don't go there. Like if he was trying to just get me to, I don't want to talk about it, so I'm trying to give you an out, but I wasn't going to do that. There is some part of me that's like, I do appreciate that. Like, it's like not referring to your rival, right? Like when Ohio State, the school up north,
right,
or whatever it is that you do, there is some element of that where I kind of like if that's the way that he's treating it. I don't know. I'm sure he's done local radio interviews, and I would think that the day after Bill Belichick gets hired, if you're doing a local radio interview down there, they're asking you what you think it means for the conference, what you think it means for, competition, all of those things. I can't fathom he's been able to avoid the topic altogether, but I do appreciate that about look, North Carolina State as a football rivalry does not stand out. Because those two programs have not regularly competed for championships, things along those lines. By the way, never forget, Phillip Rivers went 0-4 all time against Maryland.
Oh, wow.
Never forget.
Man.
Never forget. Oh, those were the days.
Peak Maryland football.
Those were the days. Couldn't we? The joke
Why
was.
didn't you bring that up?
We would all. He wasn't the coach.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Guess it wouldn't have made sense.
It was Chuck Amato. Oh, Chucky Amato was the coach at NC State. God, we had some fun with Chuck Amato. A man who looked like the logo. Like, just looked. His face was always red. Like. Anyway, the moral of the story being like it's not, but maybe down there, like they want to act like that, and so he really is going to just try to ignore it and be like, "Who? I don't know who you're talking about. Whoever the coach is over there, that program, like maybe that's the way that he handles it in all interviews, and so it would be no different doing an interview in Maryland ahead of the Military Bowl, but." Appreciate it. I did enjoy the time with Dave Doeren. Very accomplished man, accomplished head coach. And NC State is headed up here next week to take on East Carolina. And if you've never been to the Military Bowl, I encourage you. It's a great – you get that week between Christmas and New Year's and your family's in, and by like the 27th, you're out of ideas. What are we going to do? We went to the movies already. On the 26th, you went to the movies. And then you get to the 27th, and you're just like – anybody got any ideas? Anybody? Military Bowl is a great way to spend a day between Christmas and New Year's. It's really a great, I get it. It's cold. There's no doubt about that. But y'all are going to a football game this Saturday, and it's going to be cold. Like, we go to football games in the cold. It's just a really pleasant day. If you've never been down, it's great. Spend the day in Annapolis. Go check out Snowflake Alley, the whole thing. Really encourage you to do that. And another one of the great events that we partner with for Maryland sports and the work Terry Hasseltine and his crew do. So we look forward to the Military Bowl next Saturday. All right, we're in hour number 2 of GCR. Today's show is brought to you by the Governor's Challenge. The top high school basketball talent from across the country returns to the Wacomico Civic Center December 26th through 30th. Witness 5 full days of elite competition featuring over 140 high school basketball teams. For tickets and info, visit govchallenge.org. 2 things. UMBC really a spirited effort in the second half. Got back within. I was watching a good bit of that game after the radio show ended last night, and they got back within 2 possessions. Yeah. They got back within 6,
or 5. No, it was
6. Down at Georgia Tech, and I was feeling something because they had been down by.
They're down by like 20 something, weren't they?
And they fought all the way back, and I was like, oh, hell, and it just didn't have enough at the end. So that was a bummer, but a good effort, obviously, from UMBC on the road at Georgia Tech. I took my first loss in the bowl pool. I did not realize that Cal was down to their 4th quarterback. I knew that what's his face, Fernando Mendoza had transferred. I knew that. I did not realize that their other quarterback who played in their final game of the season was hurt. And then they were down to their 3rd quarterback who then also got hurt. Like, it was a 14-13 game, and I'm like,
classic.
I'm in great shape. I'm gonna keep the undefeated train rolling in the bowl pool. And then the 3rd quarterback got hurt, and the 4th quarterback, oh boy. That guy stinks. I mean, he couldn't throw a forward pass. It was tough to watch. So I took my first loss in the bowl pick'em last night because I was a little too bold with Cal against a good UNLV team. And then there was one other one. Oh God. Oh, my God. What a day to be Doug Gottlieb. Holy
oh, my gosh.
F's.
That was...
So Griffin, when the show ended yesterday, was like, there's got to be a basketball game on. I looked up, and there was one Division I game. It was like Dartmouth and Lemoyne. So I said, all right, we'll pop that on for a second. Then that one ended, and I looked over, and I said, wait, Green Bay's playing right now? And all of the discourse between Doug Gottlieb and Adam Schefter from earlier in the week, I was like, and then I looked at the score, and I said, wow, Michigan Tech's within like 7. They're only up 7 against a D2 team. Could you imagine? I think I made a joke on Twitter about like Adam Schefter watching without his pants on or something like that. And this is before I even knew about the nobody you comments. Did you see this?
I did not know. Yeah, I didn't not until after the game.
After the game,
not until after the game.
So if you haven't seen it, if we were more of a professional operation, we got to get a break in before. I don't know if we have time. But if we were more of a professional operation, we would have this lined up. It's not on you. It's on me. I didn't tell you I was talking about this. I'll take the fall for this one. before the game, Doug Gottlieb was talking about scheduling and made a comment about wanting to schedule better teams because how do you get people fired up for an 11 a.m. game? By the way, aren't they on Central Time? So wouldn't it have been a 10 a.m. game? A 10 a.m. game against.
Well, I think it was because it started at noon our time. I think so. I think it was 11 a.m. their time.
Oh,
right?
did it start? I thought it was 11 a.m. Whatever.
I think
Anyway,
I have it. The 30-second clip. There.
Yeah.
Tiers on who to schedule, like nobody. Part of the reason I want to play better teams is like it's 2 degrees outside, it's snowing. Like I don't really like the idea of nobody you coming in here and like I always thought like what do we learn playing a game where we win by 20? But
well, I have good news,
there's
Doug.
a methodology to it.
I have good news.
And
we got.
I'm gonna have to adjust moving forward.
You learned because you didn't win by 20. You lost to nobody you. And I don't dislike Doug Gottlieb. Like he used to be a guest on this show all the time. He would end up doing Maryland games.
I think we had one recently. Yeah.
Did we? Might have. I don't dislike Doug Gottlieb. I'm telling you what I dislike is him spitting in the face of 2 different professions. This thing where he's trying to both coach a Division I basketball team and host an afternoon radio show it's embarrassing. You can't do that. And it genuinely pisses me off as someone who does this. You cannot do it. It can't be done. The jobs are too serious, and if you're going to be good at them, it requires too much work. You can't do both, period. I can barely do this, given the other jobs that I have to work. And so it actually does rub me the wrong way with Doug Gottlieb. Like, it's a guy that I've liked, and he said a lot of stupid things. Like, he tries to be a firebrand, and look, man, if we eliminated all the people that did that, we'd be left with Scott Garceau at that point. Like, we'd have nobody if we eliminated all those people. He said Scott's a lot of Scott's one of the greatest people alive, but he doesn't say things to try to stir the pot. Like that's not what he does. Doug is a little bit further on that end of the spectrum and says a lot of stupid things. There was no need for him to jump in this thing with Adam Schefter this week. Although, look, Adam Schefter did not present that. Adam Schefter can hide behind, well, there's this collective and they've committed. It did read like he was saying that Sacramento State has $50 million to spend on football players this year. They 1,000% do not. But it gets lost in the sauce somewhere. There's a $50 million investment that a group has put together to try to get Sacramento State to FBS football. So there is something to that number. Somewhere between what was tweeted, there is something. It's truthy, but it's not fully truth. I don't know how to describe it. So Doug Gottlieb read a part of that tweet and was like, "Oh, this is embarrassing. This guy got hoodwinked by someone." But dude, what do you have to do with this? And by the way, in his press conference, he was trying to make it seem like it affected him because now people wonder why we don't have 50 million. Like, no, dude, nobody is watching a tweet about Sacramento State football and thinking, boy, I bet Green Bay basketball could be in the same. Stop. Nothing to do with you, dog. Nothing. So, yeah, I think a lot of us took some sick pleasure in that. And again, I don't even hate Doug Gottlieb. What are you doing, guy? What are you doing? Also, a lot of people pointed out that he was scheduled to have an afternoon radio show yesterday. And it would be an interesting day, given the fact that he got into a fight with Adam Schefter and then lost to a Division II team that he had called Nobody You would be a good day. And so people actually tuned in to the radio show yesterday to find that he wasn't hosting it. So, what it is, man. But yeah, that was I don't know, that was fun for a lot of us yesterday, which probably says something about us, to be sure. I mean, in fairness, we always like it when a D2, they're always fun when there's an upset, and I get it that Green Bay is not by no means a power. They've won 2 games all season, but it's still a D2 team over a D1 team, so we do like that. The D3 level this weekend, the semifinals in the NCAA football playoffs, and Johns Hopkins rolling. Another win last week, another close playoff win at home against Mary Hardin Baylor. They now travel to Mount Union, one of the powers in Division III football. They're looking to make their first ever trip to the national championship game. Joining us now, he is the quarterback of the Blue Jays. He's James Rinello, and he is with us this morning here on GCR. James, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you. Congratulations on everything you all have done this season. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Of course. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you for having me on the show this morning.
Absolutely, man. I was talking to Coach last week, and James, I think your story is so cool. Someone who not only was waiting your turn, but never knew that you were going to have a turn, right? And yet you stuck it out. And in an era where a lot of times football players will say, I just want to be anywhere where I can play, you were a good team player. And when this when this opportunity came up, can you kind of take me through why you decided that you wanted to be here, you wanted to stick it out, even if it meant that you were never going to get the opportunity to be the starting quarterback?
Yeah, of course. You kind of touched on it coming into this year. I never really expected that I was going to be playing many meaningful snaps. But the reason that I've stayed here all 4 years is really a combination of the program just being an amazing group of guys and coaches that I love being around every single day. And obviously the school is known for its education, which is amazing. And so really those two things, no matter the circumstance of me playing or not, this is where I wanted to be. I couldn't imagine being with any other group of guys than the one I've been with.
How comfortable were you, right? Like now all of a sudden the starter goes down, your name's called. I know you had played snaps before, but did you need a couple of games to be like, oh, right, I can do this? Or were you confident all along, hey, if that opportunity comes, I'm going to hit the ground running. We're not going to take a step back whatsoever.
Yeah, of course, when I heard the news, I kind of thought to myself, like, all right, let's do this thing. Let's keep the ball rolling. And there was never really any nervousness. There was some excitement. And, of course, like, all right, like going to this game, it's a different feeling now. And I don't know if my mindset really changed, but I do feel that as the season's gone on, I have gotten to be more comfortable and pick up my level of play. And I think it's just we've, as a team, have grown more confident as the season's gone on. And so we feel really good about where we are right now.
Understandably so, right? Like you guys have been rolling. More recently, it's been a lot of close games. Can you explain what is it about your team that in these sort of nail-biting moments in the fourth quarter in the playoffs with your season at stake, you all haven't flinched now in 3 straight one-score games?
Yeah, it's definitely been a lot of tight games, and I'm sure some of our coaches and fans would have loved if they were a little less close, but even dating back to the regular season, we had a lot of tight games. And I think what really it comes down to at the end of these games is everyone on the team is just so close. We really are all brothers. We are fully confident that someone is going to step up and make the play that we need. Whether we mess up and the defense needs to make a stop or vice versa, it's just we know that someone is going to come up in a big-time moment and make sure that we end up with the win.
We're chatting with James Rinello, Johns Hopkins quarterback. They are playing in the National Semifinals tomorrow at Mount Union. Or sorry, not tomorrow, Saturday at Mount Union at noon. The game is on ESPN+. James, Coach Wadaka, can you kind of take me through, as someone who has been here through the transition, him stepping in and having been on the staff and knowing the guys, what has he done as a head coach that's maybe been different? And what has he brought to the table in that role that has allowed for you all to sustain the success that this program has experienced that, as you referenced, is part of the reason that you wanted to be here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Coach Watts has been with here since we were freshmen, and he also played here. And so he is just a guy that loves the Hopkins football program. And we were really glad that he stepped up as our head coach, and we love having that sense of continuity just because he does know all of us so well and knows the program so well. And so he's just done a good job of really instilling the traditional values of pride and poise in all of us, keeping us calm in the big moments, firing us up before the big moments, and really just being our leader that we can all look to when we need guidance.
And clearly that's coming through as you guys have made this run. Was there a moment during this season, a game that you look back on that you say this is how we've gotten here? We needed this. We needed to do this. We needed to beat this team. We needed to have this moment. Anything that you look back on and say, this is where this started, this path now to the national semifinal.
I mean, if you want to look back earlier in the season, I think one of our big wins that really helped kickstart this run was the game against Ursinus when they were unbeaten at the time.
Yeah.
They've been playing really good football. It was an away game at their place, and that was a pretty big test for us. And I think that big road win really was a big confidence booster for a lot of us guys, and I think that's really helped get us on this path.
James, can I ask about, you reference, obviously this is Johns Hopkins that we're talking about, right? Like, as a kid from Connecticut, how much did you know about Hopkins, and why was it the right place for you, again, not knowing whether or not it would ever lead to you being on the field?
Mm-hmm. So I had heard a little bit about their lacrosse program more so when I was younger.
Yeah.
And growing up, especially over COVID, you hear all the information is coming from Johns Hopkins. And kind of the reason I knew about their football team actually was because one of the kids at my high school, Lance Large, played here, and he was a few years older than me, and he seemed really excited about it. He was raving about the team and the program, and so that's kind of what put it on my radar. And I was fortunate enough to get recruited by them. I kind of, like, the combination of elite athletics and academics kind of made it a no-brainer. So I was really excited about the opportunity. I knew I would get to meet a ton of great, similar people that worked really hard at their sport and were well-rounded and also placed value in their education. And so all of those factors kind of led me to where I am.
And it seems like you make that. I was, by the way, as I was doing my research on you, I actually came across your LinkedIn page. Like, it seems like this Johns Hopkins connection is paying off. Like, the opportunities that you've already had at, like, places like RBC, right? Like, this. It seems like this is a decision that's already paying off for you.
Definitely, yeah.
I mean,
this place is great. They definitely helped set us up well.
That's awesome. I'm happy for you, and it's incredible, that reminder that, like, you guys you're putting the student and student athlete, which is cool to see. James, the Mount Union thing, right? Like, this is people that don't follow Division III football know Mount Union because they're always there, right? Like, they're the team that's always competing for national championships. They're undefeated. They just went and beat the only team that was able to beat you guys all season. What will you guys need to do even better in order to go on the road and take down Mount Union and reach the national championship game?
Yeah, I mean, they're a really good team. Like you said, they're undefeated. They're here almost every year. And so we're just going to need to do everything better. Our defense has been playing lights out. They're going to keep it up. On offense, we're going to have to play a complete game, first and second half, putting up points.
Yeah.
We're going to limit our mistakes, to try and force them to make mistakes. And really it just comes down to executing our game plan and, like, taking care of what we need to take care of.
How much does this mean to you, right? Like, you have the opportunity to do something that no one's done in Johns Hopkins history, right? Like, you've already, done something that very few Johns Hopkins football players have ever done. What does this mean to you, being a senior, being at this point in your career, to be in the national semifinals and on this stage with a chance to play for a national championship?
Yeah, I mean, it really is an amazing opportunity. And especially, like we touched on earlier, just not really expecting ever to play many meaningful year. It really is a blessing to be where we are right now. And I'm just so proud of the way that everyone has played this year and worked this year to get us to this spot. And yeah, chance to make history is amazing.
No, dude, it really is such a cool story, man. And I know that, like, you have more chapters that you want to write to this story, and so, like, there's danger in reflecting on it at this point, but it's a really, really cool story, and to you be in this position, I think it's incredible. James, I guess the one other thing would be, I don't. Were you all was quarterback always the thing for you? Like, are you just natural as like a leader? Are you comfortable in these moments? Like, were you kind of born to be in this position, to be doing this in games like this?
Well, when I started out my football career, actually, back when I was around 10 years old, I was placed on the offensive line where I was an offensive guard, and I was not very good. So after 2 years of playing offensive line, I kind of took a year off, and I was like, I don't know if football's for me. And then as I got older and got to middle school, I started to watch a lot of football with my dad and my friends. And that's kind of when I realized I wanted to play quarterback. And so from then on, I was kind of got a net in my backyard, would throw into it, whether it was like raining or snowing, and kind of just started working at it. And I took that mentality with me to where I am now. And I think that's really been the difference in helping shape my career.
All right, so I did not know this story. This was just shared with me. You guys have a team bone marrow registry at Johns Hopkins?
Yes, so we run a drive every spring where we'll help go around, get people on campus to do a little cheek swab, which adds them to the like the matching registry. Yeah. So that's something we've been doing for a few years now.
And you ended up being a match for someone who had leukemia.
I did.
Wow, man. How powerful is that? Like, what? I know we're talking about playing for a national championship, and that's powerful, but, like, holy crap, how powerful was it for you? Just something as simple as, all right, dude, yeah, go ahead, swab my cheek. I don't care. Like, by all means, to turn it into an opportunity for you to be a donor and to save someone's life potentially. Like, how incredible is that?
Yeah, I mean, that was another amazing opportunity. It was a pretty quick turnaround from when I joined the registry, but the following winter, they reached out to me and told me that I was a match for someone and asked if I was willing to help them out. And I was like, of course, like, what a blessing this is. And so a few short weeks later, they took me out to Indianapolis and did the procedure, and it was pretty easy on my end. And last I heard, it worked for them. So
wow, dude.
Yeah, it was an amazing experience.
Oh, that's a miracle, man. That's a miracle, and good on you. I remember I got swabbed a few years back when I found out a friend had leukemia. I said, it's such an easy thing to do, right? Like, okay, go ahead, you can, by all means. But good on you for being that hero for someone and for stepping up. That's incredible, man. James, we're so excited for you guys and can't wait to be watching on Saturday as you all try to go make history. Congratulations on this spectacular season. Whatever comes in the next few weeks, you've authored an amazing story, and we're happy for you. Appreciate you spending the time with us. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to you and your family. Go get them on Saturday out of Mount Union, all right?
Of course. Thanks so much for having me on.
Absolutely. James Rinello, Johns Hopkins quarterback. That's a neat story. That's a really neat story. Thank you to Ernie at Johns Hopkins for sharing that with me. That's going to be tough, man. That's going to be tough. This Mount Union that we're talking about, like, again, before I was ever involved in Division III football, calling games, anything like that, I knew what Mount Union was because every year you get to this time of year and they were playing for a national championship. And they just pasted Salisbury last week on the road. So this ain't going to be easy. Salisbury was the only team that took down Hopkins all season long. This is going to be a different challenge, but an awesome opportunity, and appreciate James Rinello taking the time for us this morning. Oh, hello. All right, we continue along here on a Thursday edition of GCR. Today's show also brought to you by CountySports.Zone. County Sports Zone is the place to turn for everything that you need to know in terms of local high school sports. So, and I say local, it's actually the entire state of Maryland. So, and it's not just basketball. Obviously, you're thinking boys and girls basketball, right? Like, that's what's going on at the moment. But there are other, like, high school sports. There are the high schools in the area that play ice hockey, for example. There are, indoor track, things along those lines that are going on right now. And they've got you covered. Everything that you need to know, you can find it by going to countysports.zone. It's proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Still to come this morning, Jim O'Hare. I'm really excited about it. I've had Chris Pratt on the show. I've had Nick Offerman on the show. I've had, actually, I guess it's just the men from Parks and Recreation that I've had on over the years. I don't know how that's worked. And I would say, it's because Amy Poehler's a bigger star. But Chris Pratt actually is, probably the biggest star of all of them. When Moneyball came out, he came on the show.
really?
Oh, it was so cool. I was losing my mind. Nick Offerman's come on a couple of times over the years. But I've never had Jim O'Hare on. He's written this book, Welcome to Pawnee, that's all about his experience with Parks and Recreation and behind-the-scenes stories. And as many of you know that have been with us for a long time, Parks and Rec has been a serious. Oh, you know what? I don't know. The people that really don't know about the time that I went viral for doing a Parks and Recreation broadcast. The Saturday after Parks and Rec aired its final episode. Oh, crap. I could probably find this and send it to you.
Okay.
The Saturday after Parks and Rec aired its final episode, Stevenson's women's lacrosse team was playing Haverford.
Ah.
Which, of course, was a fitting Tom Haverford. It seemed fitting. And so, 20 minutes before the game started, I said, I want to do something with this. And so I just thought on Tom Haverfordisms, and I proceeded to find ways to put them into the calls.
Very wise.
During the course of the game. And sure enough, I don't know who somebody sent it. Probably somebody from Stevenson sent it to one of the big blog sites, Deadspin or I Busted Coverage, Bro Bible, one of those places. And all of a sudden, it was out everywhere, and people did. I did just email it to you.
Okay.
It's just audio. There's no video, unfortunately. This is. I don't know why we never pulled the video. I think I had access to the audio because at the time it was being done by a company called sfmsports.net that I was working for, and so I had the audio. I didn't have the video, and I just cut it up to put it on, literally to put it on my own reel. I put it on my personal SoundCloud page. It was the only place that it was, and then 2 days later, my phone started blowing up. Dude. Everybody's talking about you. I'm like, all right, cool. Cool. You can play a little bit of it if you want. I don't care. We still it's 10 minutes before Jim O'Hare's joining us.
He actually has just joined.
Oh, he's on.
Yes, he is on,
okay.
So.
Okay. I thought it was gonna be a little bit later. You want
to play this now, or do you want to talk to him?
Let's talk to Jim O'Hare.
Okay.
Let's not make this man wait any longer. I'm so excited about this, as you know, as we're talking about. I've been so intertwined. It's my favorite, television show of this century. That my favorite television shows of all time are Boy Meets World and Parks and Recreation. This man, call him Larry Gergich, call him Jerry Gergich, call him Terry Gergich. This man, a vital part of it, and he has a new book out right now that I am 2/3 of the way through, and I am so greatly enjoying. It's called Welcome to Pawnee. He is the great Jim O'Hare, and he's with us this morning here on GCR. Jim, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It is truly an honor. Thank you for taking the time for us.
It's my pleasure. Listen, I have to correct you on something, though. You're hinting that Chris Pratt is a bigger star than Jim O'Hare?
I am sorry. You know what? It's how dare I? How dare
you, Glenn? How dare I am right now in a hotel room in Louisville wrapping a film. I mean, come on.
God,
now,
that's
Marvel
so much.
film?
Yeah, Marvel.
No,
what do they have? Jim, you don't know. It's something interesting because you wrote a lot in the book about the parallels with The Office for Parks and Rec. Yeah. And one of the things you wrote about was be an Oscar. And I found that so compelling because you talked about, hey, the success of a show comes when people love the other characters, when it's not just the leads that people care about. It's when these characters become beloved figures. And I think it's, your brilliance and obviously the brilliance of the writers that it worked so perfectly that my then roommate at the time, and I would watch every week, and he was obsessed with Donna, and I was a Jerry Gergich guy. That, it was the brilliance of the show, and it really, I love you telling your own nervousness about, will this work, and will this be something that I can keep doing, or am I here for an episode? what it ultimately became, it's phenomenal. How did you? Was there a moment for you where you knew, okay, this is definitely a thing and might be a thing that stays with me for the rest of my life?
Well, I never knew it would stay with me the rest of my life, because the fact that we're still out there, we're still streaming, we're syndicated, like that is still, that's like mind blowing. You know, shows come and go. I've been on, you know, look me up. I've been on a lot of shows over the years.
Yeah.
They come, they go, you never hear from them again. So the longevity I never expected. We thought we were being canceled every 5 minutes. But I think the moment where I had this realization of, you know, my Sally Field moment of, oh, they like me, they really like me, was season 2, when one of the producers, Morgan Sackett, came up to me and he said, they're writing you an episode.
Yeah.
Now, at this point, Glenn, I'm not even a series regular. I'm just the guy, me and Retta, who played Donna Meagle. You know, we would sit in our dressing rooms. Are they keeping us? Are we being fired? We didn't know what the hell was happening. But he said to me, they're writing you an episode, which by that they meant I was going to be in the A story. You know, there's like an A, B, sometimes a C story to a sitcom. And that kind of, I thought, well, they're not doing that for someone who's just going to be getting the hell out of here sooner than later. So that was my first sign. And then about, I don't know, a month later, I was in Miami. I can picture it. I was in line at a rental car agency, and my manager calls and she said, they want to make a deal for you to be a series regular. And there has never been a happier moment like in an actor's life than when you get the call and they want you to be a series regular. And especially because at this point, I have already fallen in love with everybody. I am in 100%. And that call could have been, listen, they don't see this character, you know, continuing with the show. It could have gone a different direction. But but to answer your question, when he said to me, you're going to be part of the main story, that is when I had hope. That is when it went from everyday panic, because I didn't want to just lose the job, because actors want to work, of course. But I was very blessed. You know, I've always had a decent amount of work come my way. But this was a special place, and I did not want to leave.
Man.
And so my panic every time was like, are we going to be canceled because of ratings? Are they not liking my character? Is Greg Daniels going to go, Jim isn't working? I mean, you know, I live in a world of panic. And but yeah, the moment that he said I was going to be part of the A story, that's when I thought, I think I could be sticking around.
So I'm so glad, and obviously the book backs up like how much fun you're having. And I remember asking this question of Chris, you know, 13 years ago, which was, can you please tell me that this show is as much fun on the inside as it feels like it is on the outside? And that was what was translating, was it just felt like this unbridled joy that it had to be. And it would break my heart if it turns out like, yeah, we actually didn't always get along, and we kind of all didn't like this person, and it was, you know, like reading how joyful it was for you every day, and these relationships that you have continued to have over the years with, you know, people that, as you point out, are giant stars, right? Like it is powerful to know that what was translating on the screen was really based on these relationships that you all had and how comfortable you were with each other.
Glenn, we still have this thing called the Parks family text. And when I say we're still in each other's lives, I don't mean like, you know, once a year we connect. I mean, weekly.
Yeah.
There is someone who will send a text, a memory of the show, and then we all jump in. Recently, Chris had a baby, a new baby boy, Ford. And so it was all about that. Amy sent pictures of her kids because nobody can believe how tall they're getting. This truly was the real deal. And you know what makes me crazy? And people have asked, you know, why have I written this book? And I hate this term, but it is true. But when a 62-year-old man says it, it sounds a little odd. But this book is my love letter to the show. But, you know, I like late night television, you know, the Jimmys and Seth and Colbert and everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I see these, like I said, I've been on a lot of shows over the years, and I see these actors on these shows, and they're like, oh, we're one big happy family and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, you are lying out of your ass, because I've been on your show. That was not one big happy family. Nobody was talking to anybody. We were the real deal. And I've only seen it one other time. And the last season of Friends, I did a guest spot. And I saw that there. I saw them still having lunch together. I saw these people still connecting. And at the time, as an actor, you say to yourself, oh my God, that would be a dream if that ever happened. And through whatever miracle it did, I did end up on a show. We did go 7 years. We are people that fell in love with each other and have stayed there. So yeah, it was a special place. And Pratt, there's a perfect example. He wasn't even supposed to be there more than 6 episodes. They were bringing him in, bringing him out, but they saw quickly what he was bringing to the table. And Mike was like, how is he even available? Like, why isn't everybody using him?
Yeah.
And so they snatched him up real quick too.
I remember Nick saying he's like our golden retriever on set. And like
Yes.
you just feel that. Like you want him around more. It's so great.
Exactly. And Nick is one of the greatest guys in the world. You've talked to him, so
Yeah.
you know. And I write about this in the book. And my biggest pet peeves over our 7-year run is that Nick Offerman was never nominated for any awards for playing Ron Swanson. Because I'm sorry, the award system, it really made me think a lot less of them. Because how do you have a character like Ron Swanson, who no one else is doing out there?
Yep.
It's so different. It's so funny. It's so layered. There's so much stuff he's bringing to that character, and he never got a nomination. Amy was nominated. The show was nominated. It was all great. I wanted all of us to be nominated, whatever, just because we're actors and we like that stuff. But Nick in particular was doing something I didn't think was out there. And then the same nominations every year would come through. And I'm not going to name names, but it's like, okay, that's such a standard nomination. That person's doing what they do and whatever. But Nick really brought something special to it. So I rant about this in the book. But then last year, when he got the win, he was nominated for The Last of Us, and then he actually won it. It was, and for an episode of shockingly amazing television, an opposite of Ron Swanson.
Right.
I mean, he took this character, and good for him for, because Nick is, he's Ron Manly Swanson, and here he's playing a gay man who happened to fall in love with this man, and they have this long-term relationship. And anyway, I love him. And then when it came time, he wanted to do a blurb for the book.
Oh.
And he sent me like 7 of them. I mean, I go, dude, thank you so much. And he's so smart. He's such a smarter man than I could ever dream of being. On one of them, I said, I don't even understand this. I'm not even sure what this means. But he's a great, great human being.
But the book is Welcome to Pawnee. I will put over the blurbs because most times when you get a book, when we give an advanced copy of a book to read for an interview, I won't even look at them, right? Like,
right.
Read the blurbs. Don't skip the blurbs. They're amazing.
And there's a great blurb when Aubrey was going to do, when Aubrey Plaza, and she said, do you want me to do it from April or from me? And I said, I think it's got to be from April.
Of course, right.
And it is hysterical.
It's so
good. You got it.
So
the
good.
blurbs are amazing. They really. And I'm going to paraphrase one, but one of the first ones, because I do this podcast, Parks from Recollection, and Rob Lowe's involved, blah blah blah. So Rob sent me one of the first blurbs, and his was, and this is I don't have I literally, I'm not joking. I'm in a hotel room in Louisville, Kentucky, wrapping up a film, so I don't have the book here.
The entertainment capital of the world. Let's be fair.
Entertainment capital of the world, exactly. But his was basically, it said, I met Jim O'Hare, the first time I spoke to Jim O'Hare was at the season 5 wrap party. I've been a fan ever since. I'm anxious for my assistant to read this book and tell me about it. Like, everything about that is genius.
So good.
I mean, first of all, for those who don't know, that's the party. That was the last time he did the show.
Because they left, right? Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So good.
So and I got that stuff from all of them. And Chris, who's so damn busy, sat down for hours with me for the book, and the creators, and Amy just did a live event with me, and Retta did a live event. These are just amazing people
Jim, do I have to race you out of here? Because I have like 3 other questions that I wanted to get to.
Go for it, dude. Okay. No, I'm good.
You have no idea how much this means to me. I seriously, and I'm telling you this straight up. I had my father-in-law passed away this week. Our family is a wreck.
I'm so sorry.
I had to be here today because I'm such a fan, and I am so excited. So I'm so glad that you're doing it. You have no idea what it means to me, man.
Thank you.
Jim O'Hare's with us. We've linked up the book on our Twitter account at Glenn Clark Radio as well. So, Jim, a couple of things. One, that what you just said about what Rob wrote, that the story of your swear jar line might be now my favorite story connected to the show. That line is perfect. is one of the most perfect lines I've ever, and the response to it being kind of flat and like, dude, I want to use that 16 more times.
Go for
you
it.
improvised that in that moment, which was so perfect for a character that wasn't even fully developed yet. But like,
we didn't know who Jerry was.
Right?
Yeah, it was terrifying. Greg Daniels, he was directing us. It was the first time we're all on set together, and he says to Amy, "Just walk around the room and talk to the different characters." So there's no script. And Amy, she's the queen of improv. So underneath, my balls are sweating. Like I am just like, I don't know what's going to happen. And yes, she came up to me. There was an empty jar on my desk, and she goes, "What is this?" And I said, "It's my swear jar." And she said, "Well, it's empty." And I said, "Well, I don't swear."
It's perfect.
It gave them a little hint into who Jerry could be.
Right.
Yes.
It's so perfect for the character. Like
and then she went over to Retta, who played Donna Meagle, and apparently there was some sort of decorative leaf on her desk, because Retta tells this story better than I do. But she said to her, "Oh, what is this leaf from?" And Retta pauses and she goes, "Outside." Like just
good.
random, like it's from outside. It's a leaf.
So good. God, that's so good. It's funny again, bringing up the parallel to The Office. That you had an interaction. You wrote your conversation with Chris, and I'll compare. I've also had the pleasure to have, Brian Baumgartner is one of the nicest guys in show
one of the
business,
nicest
right?
guys, and he has a Christmas book out right now. Let me help promote it too.
I wish I would have realized that, because we would have had. I probably had him on 5 times over the years, right? Like just because he's in town doing different things, he's great.
Yeah.
And I remember the first conversation I had with Brian when I'm doing all the nerdy stuff. We talked about, did you ever feel sorry for the character? Did you ever feel sorry for Kev? Did you ever get to a place where you like pitied it and you didn't like it, and was there ever a moment? And it was fascinating reading that interaction that you had with Chris, where you were like, dude, I will do anything. Like, they write it for me, I'm in. And Chris was almost like protective of the character, and I don't, it still has to be funny. It can't just be mean.
He was, Chris and Amy, they were the two ones who would check in. And Chris would go, "Oh, Jimmy, this one feels like a little too mean." And my answer generally was basically, first of all, I love sarcastic humor. I love that type of thing. And I could not have trusted these writers more. And I mean, to the point where, when an actor gets like for this film or whatever that I'm on now, you get a script sent to you, you read it, you make decisions, whether you're going to do it, you talk to your reps, blah, blah, blah. If any one of those writers called me in the next 5 minutes and said, "Listen, we have this project," I would say yes. I wouldn't have to know what the project is. I wouldn't have to read anything, because the trust I have for these people, I thought if they think it's funny, I know it's funny. And so Pratt would be worried. Jimmy and I'd be like, "Dude, it's funny, and we're all making a good paycheck. It's all good." But yeah, so Chris would check in with me. Amy, there's one of Jerry's famous scenes is he fakely says he was mugged. It's not real, because he was actually lost a burrito in a creek, and he went to get it and he fell in, and he hurt his arm or his shoulder. And so it becomes a thing where they say he was mugged. And now I've got to do a presentation. I'm doing the presentation. I bend over, my pants rip, and you can see my, underwear ass, and then the big fart comes out.
Yep.
And after the table read, Amy came up to me and she said, "Jim, are you okay with this?" And I said, "Amy, I was born for this. This is my wheelhouse. This is where I belong."
The fact that you, and I know I knew this because I am a nerdy fan, but I had sort of forgotten that you originally read for Ron, like, to begin with.
Yeah.
Which, I'm sure has been like one of these ultimate, like, what if scenarios. But, and I think what I love most about the book is how the story of Nick becoming Ron came to be, and this Post-it note, and, Mike O'Malley killed it, but the answer was always Nick. Like, that was the answer. And again, anybody who's ever watched the show, you can't imagine anyone else being Ron, because it just seems like this was a human that was born for this moment.
Exactly.
But
yes.
your life going back to that, and walking out, and I guess just assuming that you weren't going to be part of this project that you would have loved to be a part of, and the joy that you had when it worked out anyway, that they had something for you.
Yeah, I left when my goal, my true goal, and I'm not lying when I say this, because of course, yes, in a miracle dream world, how great would it have been? And I walk in, I do my audition for Ron Swanson, and they're like, "Oh my God, the skies have opened up. Jim O'Heir is our man.
Yeah.
Let's give him $1 billion an episode." Yes, okay, that would all be lovely, but that's not how showbiz works. And my goal, Glenn, truly was to just, I wanted to leave there with Mike and Greg liking me and thinking, oh, we will maybe use this guy down the line in a guest spot or another show we're working on, or The Office, because I was a huge Office fan. That was my goal. So, I did that audition. I left it and it was out of my brain, never thinking it would go my way. And then, like 2 weeks later, I get the call about this other role. So it told me two things. One, they liked what I did, so I didn't make a fool of myself. And two, they will consider me for stuff because I never thought I'd get the other role. And when I went in for Jerry didn't even exist. They had to create material to audition with. And also, when I showed up, normally if I walk in, I'm going to see a lot of Jim O'Heir's, which means it's me, it's Brian Baumgartner, it's the big guys. We're kind of we all know each other. And I walked into this audition and it was everybody. It was black, white, Hispanic, Asian, tall, fat, skinny. I mean, it was everything, which at the time I thought, oh, damn, they don't have a clue what they're looking for. So again, I just said to myself, you just want to leave this room with them liking you enough that down the road, they will consider you for something else. And if that, when you mentioned about the Nick Offerman with the little Post-it, what you're referring to is Mike liked Nick so much that he wrote his name down on a little Post-it and put it on his computer, and he never took it off. And so now down the road, Parks and Rec comes along and Nick is front and center in his brain. So I just wanted that experience where they would just remember me. So when I got the official call that I got the gig as Jerry, I, of course, was out of my mind. And then my agents, and they weren't being idiots, they were being kind, but they said to me, we're not sure if you should take it. And I said, what the hell are you talking about?
Get me in, right?
What do you get me in?
Yeah.
And they said, well, they're being very honest with us, and they don't know what's going to happen with this character. You might feel like you're just a background player. And there's nothing wrong with being a background player, but at that point in my career, I do, mostly guest spots and pilots and, movie roles, whatever. I had already gone beyond that. But for me, Glenn, it was such a no-brainer because I was obsessed with The Office, and I saw what happened to Kevin and Angela and Meredith and Oscar and Phyllis and Stanley. So for me, it was a gamble that was so easy to take, and thankfully I did because it certainly paid off.
I realized that I've just basically been doing a book report so far and less an interview, just like
I love it.
Here are things that I like from your book. I have not finished yet, so maybe you address these things. But the two things that jumped out at me that I did want to ask question-wise would be, one, what's been the most surreal, like, this person is a fan of mine moment that you've come across? Like someone unrelated to the show, but who reached out to you or saw you and, like, that you just said, I can't believe this is you got to pinch me. There's no way this is real.
Well, dude, that happens all the time.
Yeah.
One time we were at the Golden Globes. We were at a table with just our little cast. Helen Mirren came over.
Shut up.
Helen Mirren. And she said, I just love you. I love your show. What is happening? Dude. And then I believe she even said to Nick, I've had a dream about you. Like it was all, and she talked to each one of us. She goes, I love your character. Oh, they're so mean to you. Like it was so crazy. But that has happened. At the time, the president of the United States, it was his family's favorite show, the Obamas. Like, what?
Yeah.
You guys know who little old Jim O'Heir is? Yeah, that happens a lot.
Yeah, that's that Helen Mirren's pretty freaking good, dude. That's pretty.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, I was a big Downton Abbey fan, and I went to some. I believe one of the Tina Fey and Amy hosted together a couple of times the Globes, and I went to they have an after party, and I go to the party, and I saw the two of my favorite characters from the Downton Abbey. And I was so nervous to go up to them. As I walk up to them, they both look at me, and at the same time they go, Jerry, and I was like, oh my God, they know me.
So cool.
They know
That's
me.
so cool.
Yeah, it was really sweet.
I'll let people read the book. There's also, I'm going to put over 2 stories. There's a great Quincy Jones story, which makes sense for those of you that know that, who is on the Parks and Rec. It makes sense to be a Quincy Jones story. There's also an incredible Mary Tyler Moore story. And
horribly embarrassing, but pretty incredible. Yes.
I'm going to encourage you, pick up the book, read it. It's amazing. And obviously, she's an icon, and what you said is perfect, honestly. I know it's awkward as hell, but what you said is exactly right. Like, that is the exact correct thing to say to Mary Tyler Moore in that moment. I do, like, again, knowing all of this, and I wanted to be you when I was growing up, right? And actually, you've given hope to, like, chuds in radio like me because, you were in radio and
did,
this.
Yes.
I wanted to be you, but I really wanted to be Chris Farley. And I don't know if there was a connection for you and how Farley registered, but thinking about it, you being a guy from the Midwest, I'm so Farley obsessed. My wife and I were in Madison a couple years. I sought out his grave to, like, just leave a note because I'm so Farley obsessed. Were you... I hate coming off like I'm saying, hey, all bigger guys, funny guys must have been Farley guys, but it just... I don't know, something about the Midwest. Were you a Farley guy? Was he an inspiration to you the same way? I was thinking a lot about him this week because it was the anniversary when he passed away.
Yeah, whether you're a big guy, little guy, whatever, you have to be a Farley fan. He was fearless. Yeah. I think that is the word, fearless. Like, there are times where there's certain things I'm offered or I have to do, and I'm like, oh, I don't know. And I will think about what Farley has done and the impact he made, and he just went for it. Yeah. And I can tell you exactly where I was when the word came that he died. Yeah. I was shooting an episode of Step by Step. So we're talking years ago. I was on set, and a friend of mine called because he knew I was going to be upset. And he said, I just heard, that Chris Farley died. I mean, it was shocking. It was also, if you know anything about Chris, he kind of predicted that's what was going to happen. He was Belushi obsessed, as obsessed as people were with him. He was obsessed with Belushi. And so, yes, and I knew Chris. He was iconic. And the one thing I'm thankful for, and, I'm a guy who can easily, have my food addictions, and I can have my issues and my problems. I'm thankful alcohol and drugs were never a big part because I could have easily gone down that road. But that was, So to cut to the chase, yes, Farley obsessed, as we all should be.
Yeah, it was just the best, man. God, he was a genius.
Yep.
Jim O'Hare, I can't tell you what an honor this is, man. I'm such a fan. I am so grateful for the role that you play. You're gonna laugh at the. My old roommate and I still every now and then will text when one of us does something dumb, we will text each other and say "stupid Larry." Like
I hear it every day.
Dude,
yes.
It's not a joke. It is a real thing, and I am so grateful for the art that you've given us. And I am really grateful for this book, which I greatly enjoy, and I could not recommend it enough to everyone out there. Please go pick up Welcome to Pawnee. Jim, is there anything else that we can mention for you before we let you go?
Oh no, I have some movies coming out in 25, but I don't know dates or anything yet. But thank you for coming in, Glenn. I know you've had a loss, so I'm so sorry about that. But this was a fun interview, so I'm grateful that you still made it happen. Thank you.
Truly my honor, Jim. Thank you for taking the time for us. We really appreciate it. Happy holidays to you.
Happy holidays.
Thank you, brother.
Bye, guys.
Jim O'Hare. Oh man, that made my month. I needed that. That made me feel good. I'm telling you, this book is awesome. It's just it's all, and like I acknowledge I am obsessed. There are 2 television programs in my life that have meant and look, I love The Wire, right? There are other shows. I love all the other. I love Breaking Bad. I love, there's a million shows that I've loved. There are 2 shows that have been part of my identity in my life. Boy Meets World, Parks and Rec. Just for whatever reason, they were the 2 television programs that I connected with the most. And yeah, when I was a kid, I wanted to be the fat funny guy. That's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be Chris Farley. When he brings up the story about Chris Farley, he knew Chris Farley. I didn't know Chris Farley. I was a kid. But I cried because Chris Farley was what I could be. Like that, I thought that was what I could be. This is a straight shoot. I left a note on Farley's grave when we were in Madison a couple years ago. And remember, we weren't even supposed to make this trip. We were supposed to go to New Orleans for the Ravens game. And then my wife screwed up and didn't realize it was a Monday night game. And she was like, well, I have to be back at work on Tuesday morning. And I was like, there's no red-eye flight from New Orleans to Baltimore. That doesn't exist.
There should be. But
I guess. It's not exactly a business trip that people are taking. So it just wasn't going to work. There was no way that we could do it. So we had both taken the weekend off, so we needed to go somewhere. And Maryland was playing Wisconsin. So I was like, if I find stuff to do that you might, we went and saw She Loves White Christmas. We went to in Madison, there was a play version of White Christmas that was showing. So we did Madison stuff for the weekend, and it was fun. It was a neat. I'd never been there. Josh, Charles, and Melissa Kim had set me up with different things to go, places to go try, things to do. While we were in Madison, it was wonderful. Josh was mad because I was supposed to go. We were supposed to go to New Orleans with him. He wanted to go, and I was planning. That was the plan. The plan was to go to New Orleans, and then Josh, we're gonna rip it up though. If the Ravens make the Super Bowl, that's a promise. Like we're doing that. But I was like, what, Madison? And I just kept thinking about Chris Farley, and I wanted to do something Chris Farley-centric. That was all I said to my wife. I just want to do something related to Chris Farley while I'm here. And, and that's where he's buried. And I said, I don't normally do that. I went to Jim Morrison's grave when I was in Paris. And Jim Morrison didn't resonate. Like, Jim Morrison wasn't personal for me. Like, I for some reason, it's a big thing to go to Jim Morrison's grave. And so it was just like on a list of Paris things to do. And then I had a moment where it just didn't do anything for me. There was nothing there. But I don't know. I left Chris Farley a note. I left him a note. He's been gone for decades. Yeah. And I left a note. It's actually in a mausoleum. It's not in the ground. But my wife had some like Post-it notes in the car, and I just jotted like, thank you for everything and making me believe that I could succeed. And that was legitimately, like, people look at me and be like, dude, what do you mean? You're fat. You might be not in pure athletic shape. I was actually, like, legit fat for parts of my life. Like, there were times where as a kid, I was a fat kid. And Chris Farley was, it doesn't matter. Like, you can still accomplish things. Just tell joke. Be funny. Oversell. Historically, in Farley's case, historically oversell. So, yeah, I wanted to be like Chris Farley badly. And yesterday was the anniversary of the day that he passed. And so there's a lot of Chris Farley content all over social media, which got me thinking about that when Jim O'Hara was coming on today. Jim O'Hara was so good, man. Dude, that was just such a perfect character. And the parallels between Parks and it's not that I didn't love The Office. Everybody loved The Office. It was the highest rated television program that existed, right? Like, everybody loved The Office. But to me, there was something more personal. Like, you connected more. It's ironic that I say this because Larry Gergich was like I can't believe I'm about to say this sentence because as I say it, I realize that every character on the show is a caricature.
Right.
Like, Larry Gergich was a caricature. Tom Haverford was a caricature. Ron Swanson was the biggest caricature in the history of television, and yet there was something to me about that show that was more personal, that, like, you connected more with like, the hope of... Van Valkenburg and I used to talk about it a lot. When Kevin used to come on once a week on the show, we would talk about... Oh, my God. We would talk about Parks and Rec probably every week. And inevitably, Kevin would be like, dude, are we going to talk about sports? And I'd be like, why do you think I want to talk about sports with you? Why would you ever think that? I want to talk about Parks and Rec. But I always said, like, you came for Ron Swanson. You came for Chris Pratt. You came for Andy Dwyer. Obviously, it was Chris Pratt's character. You came for these goofballs, but you stayed because of the hope of the Leslie Knope character. Like, the Leslie Knope character just gave you hope. Like, just work hard. Just care. Just try. And things will go well. And that was what I loved so bad about Parks and Rec. that I guess separated from The Office, where Michael Scott was just a dope. Like, he was just a dope that, like, would occasionally accidentally get things right, but, like, it was accidental. It wasn't because of hard work, and you connected. You were there for the goofballs, but you stayed because of, like, this message that permeated through the show because of the central figure that was Leslie Knope. And I just resonated with that, you know, as someone, just work hard. Just keep working hard. Just control what you can control. You're going to be frustrated as hell. Shit's not going to go your way, but just work hard. And it was what I loved about that show. I mean, it just resonated with me. And that was cool, man. That was cool. And if you wanted Ravens Steelers today and you got that, start John Johnson radio. I don't know what to tell you, man. It's Glenn Clark radio. I get to do what I want to do. Had a tough week.
Heck of a name, John Johnson.
I mean, wasn't there a safety in the NFL named John Johnson?
Yeah, what was it? Was that?
That was with the Rams? Do I remember that right?
No, yeah, I think you are. Well, am I thinking of Jalen Johnson, though? Or
No, that's the Bears. I thought
you're right. John Johnson.
I thought John Johnson was a safety for the
you're right.
Rams. Not the reason why I said that name. Just after I said it, I realized there was a John Johnson. That was a thing.
It was at Northwestern High School.
Where?
In D.C., like in Hyattsville.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good for him. He wasn't the one that was on Last Chance U, was he? That was another. I think there was a Rams safety that was on Last Chance U that I followed.
No, he wasn't on Last Chance U.
All right. Thanks to Jim O'Hare. Thank you. That was a joy for me. We are winding down for hour number 2 of the program. Today's show has also been brought to you by the CIAA tournament, which is back in Baltimore at CFG Bank Arena. And right now, you can save $10 on single-session general admission tickets when you use the code HOLIDAY when you make your purchase at CIAAtournament.org.
It was Jermaine Johnson.
Jermaine Johnson.
Last Chance U.
Was Last Chance U.
Yeah.
It's close. He was Jermaine Johnson was an edge rusher?
He's a linebacker. He's listed as a linebacker.
Yeah.
Currently on the Jets. So.
Okay. All right. Very good. Come back in. We will get a tidbit. We'll get tubular. It is a Thursday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. Visit Harford County this holiday season for a brand new event. You'll feel like you stepped into a holiday movie. Harford Holidays is overflowing with the spirit of the holiday season. You'll be amazed by the jaw-dropping light displays, thrilled by a visit to Santa's workshop, and have the holiday time of your life with sleigh rides, a special vendor village, s'mores making stations, and so much more. It's a holiday light experience, new at Ripken Stadium, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, December 6th through December 22nd. For ticket information, head to visitharford.com. You'll have the happiest holiday season ever.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their amazingly scrumptious, fat, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. Every season is crab season at Costas, so make your plans now by calling 410-477-1975 and reserve your taste of heaven. Sit back, crack some crabs, and watch the Ravens chase down another title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday nights, Costas offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30, and there are nightly specials Monday through Friday. So head on down to the Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at costasinn.com.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin, and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named #1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll, receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now, and it's our very special Best of 2024 issue. On the cover, we celebrate our Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year, Lamar Jackson, as Bo Smolka profiles what the quarterback means to the community beyond the football field. Also inside, we celebrate the top people, performances, and moments of the year in local sports. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always read the entire issue and find the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Need a trophy or award that's as unique as the achievement? Look no further than Crown Trophy. With locations in Owings Mills and Gaithersburg, they specialize in custom trophies, plaques, and medals for any occasion. From sports and academic awards to employee recognition and corporate gifts, visit crowntrophy.com today and let them help you create a lasting memory for your school, team, or business. Crown Trophy is a proud supporter of the Maryland Public Secondary Schools Athletic Association. crowntrophy.com.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
All right, back in here on GCR, as I completely forgot that we got another break to take. So we're going to split things up a little bit, and we'll do a tidbit, then we'll get tubular. That's the way it'll go. Was there anything that we didn't cover that we needed to? Nolan Arenado denied a trade to the Astros, which is weird, right? Like, why? I don't know if he just loves St. Louis and kind of doesn't care. But it seems...
What's not to love?
I don't know. It's not my... But it just seems odd, right? Like, why wouldn't you want to? It'd be one thing if, like, you had been in one place for your entire career.
Does he have, like, a full no-trade clause, or is it just, like...
He has a no-trade
like
clause. That's all I know, is he has a no-trade clause. And so Nolan Arenado denied a trade to the Astros, which is... but then I think it's more complicated than that. Hang on a second. Because the way the Athletic wrote it up was Nolan Arenado denies trade to the Astros for now.
For now.
So
is that even allowed?
I don't know what that means. Hang on a second. This is from the Athletic. Katie Wu and Chandler Rome. Despite the St. Louis Cardinals' intentions to trade him, Nolan Arenado is not close to making a decision about his future. The Athletic first reported Saturday that the Houston Astros had emerged as legitimate suitors for Arenado. By the end of the weekend, the Astros had a deal in place to acquire the third baseman, and there was a growing sense within the organization that it would land the 8-time All-Star. Instead, according to multiple league sources, Arenado declined to waive his no-trade clause, preferring not to make a decision this early in the offseason. So it might not have anything to do with he's just not ready to do it. Which, like, okay, cool. But also, like, these teams have to make decisions. And if you don't know that you're going to be willing to be dealt to the Astros, then aren't the Astros going to maybe try to acquire somebody else? It's very weird, man. Like, I get it. Like, if this is surprising to Nolan Arenado that the Cardinals are trying to trade him, I doubt they told him for the first time on Saturday. I'm going to assume that he was told a few weeks later. It's very weird. Very weird. In fact, the Cardinals president of baseball operations, John Mozeliak, first approached Arenado with the idea of a trade during the final week of the regular season.
Huh.
So that was 3 months ago.
He's still not ready.
But when you gonna be ready? It's very weird.
Maybe you're right. Maybe just where's he from? Where's it?
I don't know. I don't know where he's from.
We've made it to the point where the practice reports are out now.
Oh,
Bateman is not practicing. Foot listed as a foot issue.
I don't know what to make of that. Like, is that new? Is that I don't know if I should be concerned about that or not. I don't know. Okay. Well, I really don't know what to do with that, man. I was hoping it was going to be an update about George Pickens or T.J. Watt not practicing, but instead you went ahead and did that. Thanks a lot. Yeah. Thanks a lot. All right, let's get a tidbit.
The top high school basketball talent from across the country once again returns to the Wycomico Civic Center December 26th through the 30th for the Governor's Challenge, presented by Pohanka and Salisbury. Witness 5 full days of elite competition featuring over 140 high school basketball teams from 16 states plus Canada. Multiple top 10 teams and nationally ranked players will display their talents on the court. Don't miss the best experience in high school hoops. For tickets and information, visit govchallenge.org.
All right, what you got? Huh?
I got a few things. I did see it. Hold on, I was trying to figure out. Darn it, I had it. Yeah. Well, this might be. I don't know what day this is from. I was trying to see what this video yesterday. Oh, today's the 19th. Okay, never mind. Yeah, no Steelers updates yet. Sorry.
Okay.
Trying to find those for you. Let's go with Oklahoma. Michigan played yesterday. Jeremiah Fears hit the old 4-point shot to take down Michigan for Oklahoma yesterday. Yes. Got fouled on a 3-pointer with like 10 seconds
game played
left.
in Charlotte because that's a logical Oklahoma and Michigan.
It's the Jumpman Classic.
Whatever that is.
It's the Jumpman Classic.
Whatever that is.
North Carolina. Jordan.
Whatever that is.
Jumpman.
But it's not a tournament. It's just some games.
It's a classic.
Right.
They played Carolina played somebody yesterday.
Not yesterday. I'm not trying to denigrate Jumpman or Charlotte or any of those things. It's just an odd. If you would say, hey, Florida played Villanova in the Jumpman Classic, I'd be like, well, that kind of makes sense. It's sort of between those two. It's Oklahoma and Michigan, both having to, and it's not really like a destination.
So I don't know. I have no clue because now I started thinking about, are they Jumpman school? Like, are they?
Maybe.
They're Jordan schools,
I think most.
I
got to assume.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, Jeremiah Fears.
Yeah, Michigan definitely is because of Jeter, and we've seen all the. Yeah.
Fears is the first freshman with 30 points in a non-conference win over a top 25 team since.
Yes.
Yep. It's good. He's in good company with these two I have.
Great.
Duke freshman from 2018.
2018 is that Zion?
Not Zion. His teammate.
Barrett.
Yes, R.J. Barrett. R.J. Barrett had 33 in a win over Kentucky in 2018, and then the last freshman with 30 on 12 field goal attempts or fewer in a non-conference win versus a top 25 was 2010 by another Duke freshman.
Kyrie
in 2010 against Michigan State. So that is the company that Jeremiah Fears joins.
That's
solid.
Sure.
Yes,
and didn't go to Duke, so I don't have to hate him.
Yeah, exactly. So Jay Kuda shared this one yesterday as well. He shared the top 4 QBs with the highest passer rating through 14 games of a season. Lamar Jackson lands number 2 all time through 14 games with a 120.7. You tried it. Do you think
I think I saw this,
you did see it. Okay.
But I don't remember. Peyton Manning?
Peyton Manning is number 1. 123.9, the highest passer rating through 14 games.
Was it Rodgers?
Ever. Rodgers was 3rd.
And then the last one was Mahomes?
Not Mahomes.
Brady?
It was Brady. Yeah, Brady was 4. So it seems...
Yeah, decent.
That seems all right, I guess.
Decent company for him.
Big win for Temple basketball yesterday.
2000th all-time win. I did see that.
They're the 6th program
to have 2,000 wins.
2,000 wins. Who are the other 5?
UCLA,
just reaching it the end of last season.
North Carolina's
in there. 3rd most all time.
Kansas
is 2nd most all time.
Kentucky
is number 1.
Everything about you would want to say Duke, but Duke
is number 4.
Yeah,
yes. Duke is in there. You want to try to name the? I guess we don't need to.
What do you want me to try to name?
I was gonna say you name the next closest. I guess. Let's see. There's another one. I gotta figure out how many wins they have because I'm looking at the wins before the season started, so I don't know how many they have right now. Hold on. I just gotta figure out what the record is.
Indiana.
Not Indiana.
Michigan State.
Indiana is 10th all time, not Michigan State.
Syracuse,
yes. So they have 5 wins, so they're at 1998 right now. So they could get
Louisville would be pretty high on the list too.
Let's see. Louisville is outside the top 25.
That is
32.
That is really surprising.
32 all time for Louisville. But Syracuse, Temple, Temple just reaching it. Syracuse would be around at the top 7 there. I guess we can.
All right, very good.
We can rotate.
Very good. Remind everybody about Live Casino and Hotel real quick.
I would love to. You are getting $7 in free slot play at Live Casino and Hotel because every time that Baltimore's football team or Washington's football team score a touchdown during home games this season, Live Rewards members are getting $7 in free slot play. Have to have your Live Rewards card inserted correctly into the slot machine, any slot machine on the floor, and be actively playing in order to get your prize. But once those touchdowns score, $7 free slot play. Add Ronald Mills must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
By the way, I was just thinking about the idea of like maybe Rashad Bateman not playing with, Deontay Johnson not playing. Nelson Aguilar's kind of banged up at the moment. Like, boy, I hope Tez Walker's ready. I hope that's a sign of things to come for Tez Walker.
Aguilar's not practicing either. They did. I think Zaribex did say he was working on the side though.
Okay, all right.
He had a concussion, I think. Was that?
Yeah, that's right. But if he's not cleared, he's not. I mean, it really just comes down to, are you cleared or not? Because if he's cleared, they don't care if he practiced or not. Like, it's Nelson Aguilar. He's deep into his career. If he doesn't practice, all good. But he's got to be cleared. All right, very good. We got one more break, and then we'll come back in, and we will get Tubil to wrap it up on GCR.
The top high school basketball talent from across the country returns to the Wicomico Civic Center December 26th through 30th for the Governor's Challenge presented by Pohanka of Salisbury. Witness 5 full days of elite competition featuring over 140 high school basketball teams from 16 states plus Canada. Multiple top 10 teams and nationally ranked players will display their talents on the court. Don't miss the best experience in high school hoops. For tickets and info, visit govchallenge.org.
Hey Baltimore, it's number 10, Arthur Millette, and I'm hoping you'll slot us in all season long for the Arthur Millette Show. We will be traveling around the region all season, giving you the chance to get to know me and my teammates. There will be some football talk and a lot more. You can watch this show live on Pressbox's Facebook and YouTube pages and listen every Friday night on 105.7 The Fan. Find out more at pressboxonline.com/Millette. The Arthur Millette Show, the only show in town that's a work of art.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from driveeasymd.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. There, you just saved money with Easy Pass, all without slowing or receiving a notice in the mail. Well done, thrifty driver, well done. Get your Easy Pass at driveeasymd.com.
Visit Harford County this holiday season for a brand new event. You'll feel like you stepped into a holiday movie. Harford Holidays is overflowing with the spirit of the holiday season. You'll be amazed by the jaw-dropping light displays, thrilled by a visit to Santa's workshop, and have the holiday time of your life with sleigh rides, a special vendor village, s'mores making stations, and so much more. It's a holiday light experience, new at Ripken Stadium, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, December 6th through December 22nd. For ticket information, head to visitharford.com. You'll have the happiest holiday season ever.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, winding down for a Thursday edition of the program. And as I said, I will be out tomorrow. Stan will be in. But we are going to do the holiday drinking show on Monday, no matter what happens to the Ravens on Saturday. We're either going to be drinking festively or we're going to be sad drinking. Whatever it is, we're doing it on Monday. And anyone who has said, hey, I would like to make a donation, I got something for helping up, open house. What's our address, Griffin? Remind me.
Our address, 8600 LaSalle Road, Towson, Maryland. So we're Suite 509. We're we're what?
No,
keep
going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Suite 509, we're facing Calvert Hall,
Yes.
Putty Hill Avenue.
Yes, on the back side of the business park.
Yes.
Suite 509. Open house on Monday. Just stop by. We're going to have a rotating cast of characters that'll be in during the day. Jeremy's coming by when his show finishes. Tim Barbalay's coming in before his show. Dennis Shockett will be here. Apparently Drew's making a cameo appearance. I don't know who else we can invite.
And you.
And correct. John Johnson. For the first episode of John Johnson Radio.
Yeah.
What do we? Carson was not committed to being here for the drinking show. You should message him.
Message Carson.
I do love Carson. That's my guy. Who else? Think of other people that we'd invite in.
Okay.
Tell Spiro. I know we can't do the songs thing, but I really wanted to do, and I'm bummed by that. But if he wanted to swing by for a minute just to say hello, something like that. I don't know who's working on Monday. I don't know who's not working. But if you are off and you've got a donation you want to bring by, please just come by and hang out with us. We're going to be having fun. Come have a drink with us. We'll have. Are you doing pizza beans?
I guess so. Yeah. We'll figure it out.
It's not a very committed response from you.
I gotta. All right. We'll find the recipe for me again. I'll send it to my sister. See what she thinks.
It's not hard.
It looks. I mean, yeah. It doesn't. It doesn't look difficult. Yeah.
Do the pizza beans.
Okay.
Do the pizza beans. We'll try to get some real food.
We did the thing.
What are some other things that we could do? We have not really planned out other items that.
I'll have Malort.
We all have Malort. Great. We should find some other gross booze of some sort, like something we're just like, no.
Okay. All right. Be on the lookout.
Text me. I need you to take a little more. I'm not trying to be a jerk about it.
I got you.
I just have a busy couple of days ahead. If you could try to think on some other ideas for this, and if you need me to make a run somewhere at some point this weekend, I can do that. No problem. Or Venmo you, whatever. Just I need you to come up with some ownership of some other fun things that we can do. We normally do the jelly beans. If we can find something similar to that can be fun during the show, then let's do it, right? Or during the quiz, for example. You get something wrong, you got to, I don't know, whatever it is, let's work on that, all right?
Okay.
And I can grab some sort of real food of some sort, just order some pizza. I don't know, whatever. We'll figure it out. But we'll have a fun time on Monday. Win or lose, whatever happens on Saturday, we're doing the show. All right. Go ahead. Let's get tubular.
Nobody.
That's something else entirely. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure it's compelling.
Have you ever thought of taking a cruise to these wonderful destinations with sunny skies and beautiful beaches? Well, wait no longer. We're ready for you to cruise from the Cruise Maryland Terminal.
Have a little phrase that you can go from baggage to margarita in about 15 minutes.
Choose fun with an array of destinations, onboard activities, entertainment, and world-class cuisine.
Contact your travel agent and book your cruise today. Let your adventure begin.
Right now, the Maryland women lead William and Mary 69-48. They were having field trip day down in College Park today. You can still watch that on Big Ten Network Plus. Amazon tonight for Broncos Chargers at 8:15. ESPN 2 for the New Orleans Bowl. Georgia Southern and Sam Houston at 7. I'm dispirited now that I lost a game, though. Like, losing one game in the bullpen.
I think there was 13 I saw that are still perfect in the bullpen.
Okay. Yeah. Everybody just picked favorites through the first 5 games, and they're in good shape. Actually, was the Celebration Bowl a favorite? I don't know. I have no idea. I know the others were.
I think they were favorites. No, but I think the line opened in favor of Jackson State, and then it flipped back to SC State, and that's why I picked SC State.
I don't know the answer. Not a lot of college hoops tonight, to be honest with you. Monumental Hornets Wizards at 7. TNT Thunder Magic at 7. Knicks Timberwolves at 9:30. Yes, and I don't know. They're playing games like we haven't already crowned a champion. Like we have a champion. The Bucks won.
You see, the Bucks didn't. They decided not to pop champagne.
Good for them.
Because Darvin Ham's undefeated in the
NBA Cup, right? Good for them not participating with the charade. Like, just it's embarrassing that there are hats and shirts and dude, you have not. This is not a thing.
What a bummer. I mean, the picture of it all sitting out and.
Dude, why would imagine how embarrassed you'd be?
Is Mick Ultra pissed off? You think?
Probably. They spent money to be a part of it, and then nothing. This is the NBA. I don't have time. ESPN Plus and Hulu. Kings Flyers 7:30. Axis for TNA Impact at 8. Non-sports.
The Bargat's Nate Bargat's Nashville Christmas 9 on CBS.
Hell yeah.
It's also the season 12 finale of Great Christmas Light Fights on ABC at 8.
All right.
Martin Short hosting SNL. He'll be on Fallon tonight. And, this actually the Prime Video new show.
He's actually plugging Hanukkah, though. He's
Martin
just plugging, if people weren't aware, they're doing it again this year.
Hanukkah awareness?
Yeah. Correct.
Beast Games. This is Mr. Beast's reality game show.
Nope.
Have you ever watched a Mr. Beast video?
I've tried.
It's not terrible stuff. So this
My
one
kids
is
love him.
So this show is 1,000 people are competing for $5 million. One person's going to win $5 million, and
sure,
Mr. B, he finds clever ways to dwindle this down pretty quickly.
Who won Survivor? I'm sure. Yeah.
Well, I'm not caught up yet, so I don't know. Don't tell me. Don't tell. No one say anything.
Very good.
Me and my sister watched together, so we'll know by the end of the weekend. I think that was it. There was one more. Oh yeah. So if you're not pumped up for Beast Games, you will love Fast Friends on Max.
By the way, somebody heard you say Beast Games and thought it was something completely different.
Beast Games.
Yeah, they were a bit disappointed to learn that their particular lifestyle.
Oh.
Yeah, was not. And by the way, you should be ashamed. Somebody heard that and thought it was a totally different thing.
Fast Friends is a Friends game show. But
okay.
It's on Max.
Sure it is.
And then, I think that's it. This is Laid is a series on Peacock. A woman finds out that all her former lovers are dying in unusual ways, and she has to go back through her sex timeline to confront all of them and move forward.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It's on Peacock.
Sure it is. All right, very good. Hey, the top high school basketball talent from across the country returns to the Wacomico Civic Center December 26th through 30th for the Governor's Challenge. Witness 5 full days of elite competition featuring over 140 high school basketball teams. For tickets and info, visit govchallenge.org with an O, gov, G-O-V, challenge.org. Thanks today to KZ. Thanks to Dave Doeren from NC State, James Rinello from Hopkins, and the great Jim O'Hare. We'll get it all up in the greatest hits section of the
Can You Take Me Higher?
It's beautiful. Tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Griffin and Stan tomorrow will be with you. Stuff and things.
Yeah, Bill Smoke will join
Bo,
us. I think Gary
obviously.
Stein's going to make a cameo. But
Okay, very good. Very good. Father Christmas, they call it.
Yeah, that's what they do.
That's what they call
Gary
it.
Stein is Father Christmas.
It's surprising, right? You wouldn't think. You're like, that math doesn't work, but sure enough, that's what they call him. I don't know. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Live Casino and Hotel, as well as visit Harford, Cruise Maryland, Crown Trophy, Easy Pass, Royal Farms, the Governor's Challenge, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, Costa Sin, MSAA, Maryland Sports, the Baltimore Orioles, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. And have a great Thursday night. Go Maryland women, but they're about to win. Duke sucks.